Okay, we're now ready to begin. I'd like to call this planning meeting to order. This meeting has been properly posted and is in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2 this evening, and the show will be rebroadcast on Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, and Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand and join me in a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Trowbridge.
Present.
Vice Chair Quinn.
Excused.
Commissioner Flangus.
Here.
Commissioner Moody.
Here.
Commissioner Truesdale.
Present.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Schlappen.
Present.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate your adhering to those rules so that we can have a smooth meeting. Thank you. Item 4 is a public comment. All items made under this item for specific action items will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda? Mr. Farlow?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. On number 9, are they keeping that sign nice?
Same question I asked. Condition of the sign, did staff go look at it?
Mr. Chairman, staff did conduct a review of the sign and it is in good condition.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting on September 13th, 2011?
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the minutes as mentioned.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. There we go. Post. Motion carries. Any items from the Planning Commission, staff, or the applicant wish to be stricken or held in abeyance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted on at this time?
Mr. Chairman, items 18, 19, and 20, the applicant has requested these items be obeyed to the November 8th Planning Commission meeting to allow additional applications to be presented with them. Items 27 and 28, the applicant has requested these items be obeyed to the November 8th Planning Commission meeting. And item 38, the applicant has requested this item be obeyed to the November 8th Planning Commission as well.
Okay. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, did you say 27, 28?
Yes, I believe you did. I assume that means he doesn't want to speak on them. Hearing none, Commissioner Quinn or Commissioner Goins, would you care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the housekeeping items as read in by staff.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries. There are no consent items, so we can move to the one motion, one vote. The following items may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearing items and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an applicant, an application, or a member of the public or member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Item number 7, TMP 42978, Lake Mead and Rock Springs, a commercial subdivision. The applicant owner is Kushro Rouhani Family Trust for possible action on a request for a tentative map for a one-lot commercial subdivision adjacent to the west side of Rock Springs Drive, approximately 300 feet south of Lake Mead Boulevard. Item number 8 is a variance 42956. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 13-foot, 8-inch tall block wall where 8 feet is the maximum height allowed along a portion of the north perimeter at 1292 North Sand Hill Road. Item number 9 is RQR 42903. The applicant is West Coast Billboards, LLC, owner 1767 Rancho, LLC, for possible action on a request for required review of a previously approved special use permit U0109-94, which allowed a 40-foot tall, 14 by 48-foot off-premise sign at 1716 North Rancho Drive. Item number 10 is special use permit 42974. The applicant is Market Grill Cafe, LLC. The owner is NPI and G Montecito Marketplace Phase 2, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a beer wine cooler on sale establishment within a proposed 6,371 square foot restaurant at 77 North Durango Drive. Item number 11 is special use permit 40980. The applicant Arts and Minds Design, owner is Nurses Himidan, for a possible action on a request for a special use permit for a secondhand dealer use within an existing 1,107 square foot general retail store at 1402 East Charleston Boulevard. And item number 12 is a special use permit 42982. The applicant is David Tran, the owner of Third and Charleston, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,880 square foot tattoo parlor body piercing studio at 220 East Charleston Boulevard. Item number 13 is special use permit 42985. The applicant is Efrain Mendoza. The owner is Seabreeze Village, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 5,548 square foot supper club at 1780 North Buffalo Drive.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
item number 11, SUP 42980. We have not received the one motion, one vote form, and therefore that should be pulled to a public hearing.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I'm going to abstain on item 12 because it's I own property within the notice area.
Okay. So we
Mr.
have
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm also going to abstain on item 12 because I own a business in the notification area.
Very good. Any other extensions? Nope. Okay, we have a motion is in order for items 7 through 13, with the exception of item number 11, and we recognize we have 2 abstentions.
That's correct. So, Mr. Chairman, move to approve the one motion, one vote, items 7 through 10, items 12 and 13, showing commissioners abstaining on item 12, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you. Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? The motion carries. We now can go to item number 11. Should I read the title again? This is so much fun to do that. No one got me off the hook, so I'll do it again. Item number 11, special use permit 42980, special use permit public hearing, applicant Arts and Minds Designs, owner Nurses Mihaldan, for possible action to request a special use permit for a secondhand dealer use within an existing 1,107 square foot general retail store at 1420 East Charleston Boulevard. The APN is 162-02-110-007, C1, limited commercial zone. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed secondhand dealer use complies with all Title 1912 requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with existing surrounding development and land uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone here in attendance wishing to speak on this particular item, come down to the microphone. She's going the other direction. We have no one here representing the item, but it does have staff's approval for recommendation. What's the commission's wish? Close the public hearing, by the way, because there was no one wanting to speak.
I believe the applicant's here.
Is the applicant now coming forward? Okay.
Do you guys wish me to speak on this matter, or is it for approval already?
You have to, they did not receive your notification that you would accept the conditions.
Okay.
And so we pulled it. And
I was not aware because I was out of town, and my dad just gave me this this hearing form for today. But any forms that I need to sign, I'll make sure to sign it.
the question at this point, will you accept the conditions as
Yes.
presented?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That's all we needed to hear.
Okay. Great.
And your name for the record, sir?
Excuse me.
Your name for the record?
Yes, Edward Malari.
Thank you very much.
So it's approved.
No, hang on a sec.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any, the public hearing is closed. Turn the matter over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action.
Mr. Chairman, this is the property with about 1,000 signs all over it. Is this
Oh.
correct?
Yes, my dad, they removed most of the signage, and we complied with your 25% of the total window. You guys requested us to remove the 75% of it, right?
Oh.
I have pictures showing that we've removed those signs, if you guys would like to see it.
Sure, I'd like
Thanks.
to see what you have, because I pass by this site every day, and I could probably count at least 400 signs on the front of it, and it's it's looking pretty rough around there.
Yeah, we've removed it. We put all those signs mostly because it's not as exposed as the other shops around there. So we wanted to kind of catch people's eyes and, show them what kind of work we do.
Could you roll that picture up?
Towards that way.
There you go.
See, we've removed all the signs you've seen there before.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask another question? Did you just remove the signs on this one business, or is this something you're trying to do across all the storefronts at that shopping center?
Actually, this is our only property at this whole complex. So we
Are
have
you-
nothing to do with the other.
Are you the owner of the business, or are you the landlord?
I'm the owner of this business. I'm not the landlord of the whole complex.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions? Motion would be in order.
Make a motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Now you got it.
Mr. Chairman, items 7 through 11 are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days. Items number 12 and 13 will go forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Now, I believe we need to have a public hearing on items number 14 and 15, even though they've requested an abeyance. Okay, let me, item number 14 is a general plan amendment, 41934. The applicant owner is Royal View LLC for possible action on a request for general plan amendment from PCD, Planned Community Development, to Service Commercial at the northeast corner of Sky Point Drive and Horse Drive. Item number 15, the companion item, is a zoning 41933 for possible action on a request for a rezoning from residential estates to limited commercial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested these items be held in abeyance to the December 13th Planning Commission meeting. As this is the fourth request for abeyance, staff is deferring its report for the applicant's request.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you start, I will have to abstain on this matter. My law firm represents Mr. Garcia, and so out of an abundance of caution, I'll be abstaining.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain on this item, too. On item 21, I'll be abstaining as well. Mr. Garcia and I was retained by the applicant on this item, so out of an abundance of caution, I'll go ahead and abstain on this one as well.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have to have a public hearing. Is it on the merits of the request, or on the merits of the request for the rezoning, on the merits of the request for a continuance? Or
It would be appropriate to hear from the applicant who has requested that this item be held in abeyance.
Okay, all right, so the request is on the abeyance request, or the hearings on the abeyance request. Thank you.
Chairman, Commissioners,
Please.
George Garcia, 1711 Whitney Mesa Drive, Suite 110. Pleasure to be before you. And I'd like to say I had better news. As of a couple of weeks ago, we thought we had an understanding with the neighbors that we would work towards a contract after you continued us graciously. We held that neighborhood meeting, and we thought we had an understanding to move forward with a private agreement that would basically consolidate all of the concerns and negotiations we've had with the neighbors and continue moving forward. As of late yesterday afternoon, my office received an email from Mr. Tobler, who's present here tonight, basically indicating he has no desire to proceed in that fashion, is my indication. And I'll let him speak for himself, but it may be in light of that request from the neighbors that perhaps my request for abeyance, which was based on that understanding and the time frame of the HOA, may be not the way to proceed. We may need to go forward tonight. At this point, I'll let perhaps Mr. Tobler speak, and if you want to proceed, then I'll withdraw the request for the abeyance, since if the neighbors are not desirous of moving forward at this time, we may need to hear this.
Thank you. Mr. Tobler, I guess the question is to you. Why do you oppose an abeyance?
We don't want C1 zoning in that area. We've had multiple meetings with Mr. Garcia, and after each meeting, in discussing it, we have decided we didn't want it. We've conveyed that. We've gone into abeyance, more meetings, but we met the other day, and none of us want C1 zoning in that area. We feel that it's not compatible with, because we have a park across the street. Children are funnel up Russell and Horse Avenue onto Sky Point. They're kept on the sidewalks that abut the property, and it's just, it's not a commercial street. Horse isn't at that point, and yet it would create more of a hazard for the children, create more of a noise and things. The property across Sky Point is already commercial, and they can build their commercial over there. But the homeowners in that, we've signed petitions against it, even a letter from the 1,620 homeowners by the Spring Mountain Ranch Master Association requested not to have C1 zoning, that it's not compatible for that area. C1 zoning gives us no protection for the children walking there, for the homeowners. We understand that the owner who bought the property would like to get C1 zoning so he can resell it and make more money. That doesn't take into consideration the value that would be lost to the homeowners in that area because of it. Ben?
Yes, I think it should also be known that
Your name for the record, please, sir.
my name is Brendan Allen. I live at 8512 Black Bart Court. It should also be known that there was a traffic accident right on this property. A car lost control and wrecked onto this property and took out a tree and some major damage to the car. Now, considering the traffic going to and from the park and the kids coming to and from school, I think C1 zoning would cause way too much traffic for the safety concerns in the area, let alone if it was C1 zoning. That's going to affect our lives every day. Those of us who own property that is right adjacent to this property.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're getting into...
Yeah, the merits of the case. We're talking about why so you feel that further discussions will be of no merit. Because that's what we're talking about, is shall we obey it or not?
And
no.
Can we submit this letter?
Certainly you can. Give it to the clerk for enter into the record.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have anything to say about the abeyance is the issue before us right now?
I do not wish to obey it. I wish, we've already been here 4 times. We've already spoke with Mr. Garcia, and we've explored all the avenues, and we don't wish to continue it. We just want it to stay residential the way it is.
Okay, I understand.
So I'm against the advance.
I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, in that light, I'm certainly willing to withdraw the advance request and proceed forward at your discretion.
Okay, then let's have staff report, please, regarding the item.
Mr. Chairman, the requested land use designation and zoning for the subject site is too intense and will not be incompatible with the surrounding adjacent residential uses and zoning. Staff is recommending denial of both these requests. A less intense office land use designation combined with a PO, professional office, or O office zoning would be more appropriate for this location.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone. On behalf of the applicant, Mr. Garcia.
Chairman, Commissioners, George Garcia, 1711 Whitney Mesa Drive, Suite 110. On the merits of this, basically both general plan amendment and zone change, as staff described, and I want you to go to the aerial and you can see this little small 1.5 acre roughly piece of ground, and you can see it's situated up against very near the US 95 Horse interchange. It's also close to a large vacant tract of ground that has commercial, and we'll go through the land uses. But what's interesting about this particular piece is you can see it's surrounded by a lot of residential, which is basically the master plan for the Spring Mountain Ranch area. And you can see the commercial area that's the vacant land to the west. You can see the higher density to the southwest and the park to the immediate south, and surrounded by the residential up there. What's interesting about this piece is, for some reason, when the master plan was done for the PCD, which is the entire master plan for which the Spring Mountain is included in, there's no criteria. There's no designation for what would happen with this site. And there's no criteria for commercial development. There's no actually a lot of criteria missing for anything other than the residential development that occurred. So there's the commercial piece to that immediate west that was interesting because, like this piece, there were some residual issues that weren't resolved through the master plan as originally was done. This piece to the west was originally C2 zoning, and it had a couple of holes in it. I'll call them donut holes of RE. This particular piece is entirely zoned RE, as depicted here. Now, I find it very peculiar, and I think it's unfortunate for both the neighbors and my client, as the owner of this property, that we're left inheriting this problem. They believed it was going to be residential. My client believed it would be commercial, given the location where it's at, and given the designations that existed of commercial, higher density residential on the other corners, believed that this would be a neighborhood service commercial. Unfortunately, the plan did not designate, as you would expect a master plan of this magnitude to do, did not designate the future for this property. So what was created when the city approved this was this rare, if not a unique, circumstance where you have in the middle of a master plan of higher density residential, commercial, and you have an RE piece. Well, we know it's not suited at an acre and at less than 1.5 acres suited for RE type development. That's not the kind of home somebody would put here, nor is it suitable, of course, for conversion to the tract type of housing that was otherwise built here. So here we are with this unusual, difficult circumstance. So what we did at the outset, we basically approached the neighbors, and we approached them, and my client said, look, we've got a budding residential. I can't expect the same uses on this property that you would expect on the commercial abutting US 95. And he thought he had neighborhood service commercial that he would be able to go after. But unfortunately, the code had just changed, so now we had C1 to pursue. That seemed like a reasonable choice since that was basically the only thing that would allow any kind of retail at all in a neighborhood setting. But compounding that, of course, was the fact that C1, or I guess it basically restricts most of the intense uses that neighbors are most concerned about to special use permits. But if we had a situation such as exists in the Lone Mountain Plan, where this PCD actually was called out for commercial, we would have commercial design guidelines and commercial limit restriction on uses such as exist in the Lone Mountain Plan, where there's a neighborhood commercial And there's a village commercial. That could have been done here. It wasn't done in this situation. So we have basically, because there was no criteria, no restriction on uses, we were left with the C1. So we approached the neighbors with the clear instructions for my client, basically to work with the neighbors to find a solution that was win-win for them and us. And what that meant, in my mind, when we approached the neighbors, was first off, all of the uses that are in C1. Let's go through the list of uses with the neighbors and find out what they want or don't want. So we spent an entire evening with the neighbors, basically, not through the formal meeting, before the formal meeting was ever held, and we basically went through the entire list of the C1 uses. And actually, they went through and identified with us those things that they didn't want and those things that may be under some circumstances, but basically all those objectionable uses. We also talked about the kinds of design issues they wanted: extra dense landscaping, extra wide landscaping, one-story buildings, and the restrictions on lighting, hours of operation, etc. And we said we'd be willing to do all of those. What we didn't have, as it turns out, is we didn't have a mechanism, a vehicle for doing this. The staff wasn't comfortable with using the PCD to go back and do like was done in the Lone Mountain because of the size of it. We also were in a position then when the neighbors ultimately, as we went through all this, and despite their support for this discussion, when they found out that the only way to do this was basically by a private agreement, at first they were initially thinking, well, maybe that'd work. And then they called the city and they felt, well, the city can't enforce it. We're uncomfortable with this potential because it's a developer. And basically, I can understand basically their lack of trust in the development process. And while we would have given them a written agreement, we offered to give them financial assistance to basically to put it in their attorney's trust account to sue us in the event that we breached the agreement. We offered to do numerous things to provide them assurances. But understandably, they were reluctant to embark on that path. One, because they had the option of professional office that staff suggested, and number two, simply I think the fear and reluctance of having an agreement that might not be enforceable in their minds. So with those problems confronting us, we basically are before you tonight with this intractable problem because I think the neighbors are all good people. They worked with us in good faith, and they arrived at these circumstances and conditions we've described with, I think, the full honest intent of trying to move forward believing the city would agree to these conditions of approval that we've discussed, and city couldn't do that. So we basically are seeking not C1 as they would put it. We're seeking something substantially less than C1 with substantially greater guarantees. We don't have a mechanism under the straight C1 to do that apparently. So we would like to basically find some other avenue with the neighbors, or basically through some sort of form of using the PCD with the restrictions such as maybe a Lone Mountain plan, go back and make those kind of amendments. But with that, I'll let you hear their concerns. And I can only tell you they've been great people to work with, and I feel for them because they've basically been put in this awkward predicament along with us. And I can only tell you the professional office in today's market, with so much office development, there's nobody going to build any office building anytime soon here. And the neighbors do have commercial uses that they felt comfortable with that would support the neighborhood, that would be compatible. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve some time to come back after they've spoken.
Thank you. Ask the neighbors to tell us what you're thinking. You know, what's acceptable, what's not. It's, fairly obvious no one's going to go in there and build a private residence on that intersection.
My name is Brian Hess.
Thank you.
I'm one of the owners of the Las Vegas Protective Services. We're the security company that does the security for that HOA, and we've been there for a few years now. I can tell you if it was C1 with the increased traffic, there's not only one elementary school, there's 2 elementary schools that get out, and there's a lot of, and I've personally observed plenty of traffic.
There's commercial near schools throughout the entire valley.
I understand.
Probably throughout the entire world.
But this area right here, though, it's just all residential, and that park at Horse Park is an epicenter for that HOA. I mean, everybody goes to it. It's the park. It's the kids, families, everyone's going. I mean, they've already had a lot of increased traffic with the on-ramp. Because
I'll accept your argument that a commercial development will generate additional traffic.
Oh, traffic, and depending on what it was, C1, it could be, if it was like a convenience store and selling
that's
beer
what we're
and
trying to
everything
figure
like
out.
that. That'd be another big problem for that area.
What is acceptable?
The professional office is good.
And the fact that no one will build it there is of no concern to you?
Well, it's not a matter of that. It's just that that's what would fit the area best. That would be, I mean, your staff is recommending that, and that because that's what would fit that area. That area is not, that area, especially that little part, is not fit for, regular commercial use like that. It's just, I mean, it butts right in they already have problems, with that area anyway. They have a lot, like I said, the extra criminal, like I said, it would draw people off the freeway into that area, and not only increase traffic, and plus it's easy access to get back on the freeway. If someone does something, they can get back on the freeway in a split second, in just a few seconds. I just don't think it's appropriate right there. It would just increase everything. I mean, I would basically have to probably, post somebody at the park just to watch it. It would, people would get something and go right across the street to the park, to consume alcohol or do whatever, they're going to do, because it would be a magnet for that kind of stuff. If that was C1 right there.
If they were able to get a special use permit.
I'm sorry?
If they could get a special use permit. So there's no guarantees that would happen, right?
Well, there's no guarantees that it wouldn't happen.
That's
either.
what we're here to talk about.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's a big money. That's with a professional office. That's that's acceptable because it would be
How many
lower
stories?
traffic.
How many stories?
I'm sorry?
How many stories of professional office would you tolerate? 4, 5?
I don't know. Probably
5.
one.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Heard your recommendation. Next.
Brendan Allen again. Bearing in mind what I said before, I can appreciate that Mr. Garcia has a client that he's looking out for, and he has a job to do, and he's been great to work with. However, we spoke to several attorneys, and they said the contract that we would try to go into would not be enforceable. It would be caught up in the courts for quite some time before any legal action would be able to be taken. In the meantime, the property would be changed. Second of all, the recommendations that we put down on the piece of paper were very similar to professional office. So it should be converted to professional office, if anything, if it was going to go from residential. And furthermore, you can see on the map that it's surrounded on 2 sides by houses and the other side by the park. So in our minds, it shouldn't be commercial.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Farlow?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'd like to make a clarification here. Actually, we're not talking about Horse and Sky Point. We're talking about Horse and Fort Apache, right?
Yes.
All right. So I want to make that clear. If it's right across the street from a park, it would seem to me that it'd be appropriate for, say, like a Leatherby's or a Cold Stone Creamery or something like that with some snooker tables or something like that. Why? I don't understand that just because it's across the street from a park, it has to be professional office. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak?
John Tobler again.
Thank you.
Like I said earlier, we've worked with Mr. Garcia. We've talked to attorneys. If it goes C1, it's open. C1 zoning is open to convenience stores. It's open to all kinds of different things. The P or PO zoning, as has been recommended by the Planning Commission, would be okay. True, there may not be anything built there for a number of years, but we've lived there for a number of years already with vacant land. I think we can continue to live with vacant land for a few more years until the economy turns around. There's a lot of commercial property that's not being used also in the northwest area, so that doesn't mean that anything would be built right away if it was C1 zoning. And you do have C1 zoning across the street. And the same owner owns part of that property. He can build over there if he has a client. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, some questions of the applicant and some comments. I commend you. You've met with the owner, or met with the property owners like numerous times, and they are quick to represent that, and we appreciate that. What other avenues have you looked at? I mean, obviously the deed restriction didn't get it. Is it possible, staff, that this could be I know it's not the right size and it's not something that we'd normally do, but could this be a planned PCD?
The minimum acreage for a planned community development is 50 acres. This is 1.67.
Okay.
There is no provision within our code to vary that.
All right. And that's where we wind up with a big problem, because this is a unique infill piece, and it's infill by the nature of what decisions have gone on from a planned community, a greater planned community, and the neighbors, I mean, they have concerns, but it still shouldn't be a reason for us to do bad zoning and bad planning. You know, sometimes you split the baby and you make it untenable for everybody. I don't think the neighbors want this to be something that is, you know, one building built and the rest of the site is a dust bowl for forever, which you can go in the northwest, you can go in the southeast. I mean, there's a lot of unfinished type developments that get one tenant and they don't go forward. It seems to me as an infill philosophy and as an infill to deal with this for the neighbors' support, this is the kind of thing that needs the ability to have a zoning that can give some consistency, but also restrict the various uses and not just build a bad project because that's what it gets. Or what it'll do is it'll sit empty for 10 years. The neighbors will get more concerned about what goes on there. We'll hear nothing but more problems. And we'll have a property that really never justifies itself development-wise, and it's not properly on the tax rolls. So I think good planning is finding a way to get these type of infill pieces, and infill doesn't mean downtown. It means anything that's unique, odd shape, that's surrounded by existing development. And this is about as defined as it is, because if whatever happens across the street, you've got the traffic. Horse is designed to carry a lot of traffic, always has been. So I could, you know, if there was a way to limit the uses, I'm not saying that the neighbors should enter into an agreement they don't feel comfortable with, but if there was a way for us to do the planned, you know, development with where the applicant has to give us a list of uses that are provable, it still takes some oversight, but at least everybody has an understanding of what can happen next to them, and the chance of getting development is much greater. And so I'd like to see if there's a way to make something work that can limit the type of uses that everybody has concerns about, but still provide what we used to get in the neighborhood commercial. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
Through you, Mr. Garcia, I want to compliment you on your efforts to make this happen. And it seems to me that the resolution was through a private agreement, but without an agreement, there's no agreement, unfortunately. So we find ourselves in that position tonight where you've not been able to resolve all of the concerns of the neighbors. And so this is a tough call for me. In the end, I'm left with this unique parcel that, with the recommendations, with what you're asking for, it does not seem compatible with the surrounding area. I'm sympathetic to the fact that it's surrounded on two sides by residential, and the C1 under those circumstances just seems a little too intense for me, and so I'm going to have a hard time voting in favor of this tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
In regards to this property right here, there is service commercial across the street. Whenever I was evaluating this, I was thinking, would I want this in my backyard? And one of the items that I looked at is if it was designed poorly, like many of properties or commercial properties here in town around the rear side of these buildings, I wouldn't want to look onto this every day. However, there are certain things that the applicant could do, such as a more intense landscape buffer. And I feel that this would probably have to come back for SDR. And so, therefore, we would have a chance to take a look at that in the future. And also, any of those items that the neighbors weren't wanting, the gas stations with the pumps would require a special use permit. Any kind of tavern or any kind of place, establishment selling liquor. So I'm a little bit torn on this one as well. It seems like there are some protections for the homeowners in the future as far as SDRs and special use permits. And it does have service commercial across the street. And the professional office, I would agree, there's a tremendous amount of space in town, and it's been hard to fill. So,
anybody else have any more thoughts? You know, my thoughts, and I'm sorry if I seemed, aggressive a few minutes ago, but we have commercial across the street from parks all over the place. We have commercial that is sited on two sides by residential all over the place. And that's fact. Now, that doesn't mean that the people that live in that area should all of a sudden say, well, if it's a practice other places, it should be a practice here. But to use those as your strongest selling points to oppose something, it just doesn't carry that much weight. You oppose it, I understand that, but the why? It's because they do it every place else. It just loses its significance somehow to me. We've got a parcel here that was a mistake. Should have been zoned correctly in the first place. Now, how do we correct that mistake? Who should bear the responsibility for that mistake? Should it go strictly to the homeowners and say, too bad, it's going to get, a 5-story office building? That was a joke. No one laughed. I'm sorry. I thought it was pretty funny, But to a bar, no. A big, busy gas station, no. But there's got to be certain improvements that could be made on the parcel that would be acceptable. The applicant's willingness to get involved in walls, expanded landscaping. I'm sure they're willing to deal with lighting issues and signage issues and ingress and egress issues that won't complicate the matter. And I'm surprised that no agreement could be reached other than just a, no, we don't want anything. That's no way to reach a compromise position. The fact that the property across the street, in all likelihood, could be it's C2, someone said? That allows some pretty big stuff. And to say, well, this little corner lot here is going to generate all this traffic that's going to squish our children as they jaywalk across the street. Boy, if they're running across the street unprotected, they might get it from the C2 property that's going to be right there on that same intersection. I think we need to do some thinking about how we work our way out of this. And the offer to make the compromises and the concessions that I hear have been placed on the table and summarily rejected, at some point in time, you got to get back together and do some more talking. I'm just not satisfied with a flat no, nor am I satisfied with saying give them C1 with no restrictions. That seems to be too much. Both sides seem to be too much, and I would hope that some consensus could be reached at a point in the middle that will not really negatively impact your lifestyle out there, but does recognize the fact that something's going to be built there. The C2 across the street, you might want to appreciate, quite frankly, a down zoning. From a C2 to a C1 is kind of a reduces the intensity of the development, and that could be seen as a positive thing. So I don't know what to say. I will take a lead from the planning commissioner that represents the area. I know he's very concerned with it and has been out there and knows the parcel and knows the neighborhood and may even know some people that are personally involved. And I'll listen to what Commissioner Moody has to say. You can offer. Yes, I'll ask you a question. But what would you offer as an approach from
In
this
response
point?
to Commissioner Truesdale's kind of query to staff, I think it was directed to staff, is there a way out of this box?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have the answer, but I mean this as you know, this is part of the Spring Mountain Master Plan. It's a PCD designation for the whole district. That's basically as part of this master plan. If there's a way to go back and amend the special area plan for this area, like I said, in Lone Mountain, and we'll discuss later, for example, had a commercial designation, had restricted special designations. So there's a neighborhood commercial and a village commercial that are different than the city's designations, and that was done under that master plan. I don't know if there's a way to do something like that, but you know, and we're certainly happy to go back and work with the neighbors. I mean, that was our intent, and I don't think the neighbors object. Their concern is how do we make it enforceable? And I can only tell you we had one of the best attorneys in town, in my opinion. You know, there may be others in the audience who disagree, but Jeff Silver, I think, is preeminent, recognized attorney who drafted the agreement, felt it would be enforceable. But the neighbors aren't comfortable. So I think, you know, we need that enforcement mechanism that the neighbors are comfortable with. Whether the agreement could legally work, we can't force that upon them. I think if they're not comfortable, if we can find another way to get there, that's what we'd like to do.
Well, maybe one of the ways to get there is, you know, staff has an objection to a PCD because it's not 50 acres. You know, one of the roles of the Planning Commission is to be the arbiter between staff and applicants and the public sometimes. And exceptions sometimes are the most appropriate thing to do. So maybe that's the circumstance we have here, where staff doesn't want to go with a very small PCD. But as a last-ditch effort to reach some kind of agreement, maybe that's something that needs to also stay on the table as a consideration.
For a question for staff, through you, Chairman, for staff, is this parcel part of the original plan, community development?
We don't believe it is. This parcel appeared that it was included in our initial application and was withdrawn and was not part of the final approval for the, what is it named again, Spring Mountain Ranch. So it was not part of that approval.
Okay, so, but our heading here says it's request from PCD Plan Community to service commercial. I mean, I guess the question is either, if it was part of it, then I think there's a bridge to address the planned community and possibly get that more restrictive use. If it's not, then it's an isolated parcel, and you know maybe it needs to be looked at differently.
At one time, the city of Las Vegas, through you, Mr. Chairman, master planned the entire part of the Northwest as PCD. All of it was PCD. Matter of fact, large portions still are PCD to this date, with underlying residential zone or RE zoning, with no planned development zoning underneath it.
Okay, well, I think we've got all the issues on the table, so we're ready for a motion. Anybody want to?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
please,
real quick. It occurs to me that we only started the six commissioners this evening, and we've had 2 abstentions on this item. That leaves us with 4 commissioners that can vote. On a GPA, we need at least 5 to pass the GPA. So even if 4 were to vote to pass, which you can still do, it still does not pass. We would then take another vote to see what we do. Either it will be denied or it will go forward with no recommendation. But I wanted to make sure that the Commission was aware of where we were.
Thank you. So,
and I guess for the applicant, or for you, Mr. Chairman, for the applicant, based on that, are you prepared? I mean, because you're not going to get a yes vote no matter how I mean, you can get 4 votes up here or whatever the votes count. you still won't get a recommended approval going forward. I mean, generally, when we get to that point, we kind of back into the ability to, somebody gets to hold this, because we want to make a recommendation to council. That's our task. So,
Mr. Chairman, maybe to answer, maybe you presented the solution. I mean, one of the options, maybe we could proceed with applying for a PCD and seeking a waiver, and then withdraw without prejudice this application.
Mr. Chairman, we better be clear about this. There wasn't an ability in our code to waive the 50 acres. And so we just have a minimum floor standard for PCDs now, and it's 50 acres. So we might entertain, the Planning Commission might entertain suggesting to the City Council that we amend that code provision, but that's about all we can do. I would ask either the planning manager or the planning director to opine on that as well.
Certainly, that is a direction that we could go. If there is a desire to change the code, that could be a recommendation made by the Planning Commission, and we would be more than happy to take that forward to City Council if that's what the Planning Commission wishes.
I was unaware that there was a strict prohibition against going less than 50 acres. It seems like there's always a way to get where you want to go if you keep working on it. I think going to change the rules, this is the first one that I've seen of this magnitude in over 6 years. So it doesn't seem like it's an everyday occurrence. So maybe changing the code would be an overkill, but that doesn't mean I'm willing to give up.
Could I suggest one other one that just came to mind? Is it possible, and this may be through you to staff, can we amend the existing master plan for Spring Mountain, add this piece in, and then create the restrictions that we're talking about that would be typical under a master plan project?
Mr. Chairman, through you, in order to amend the master plan, you'd need to have the signatures of the property owners, and that might be a rather momentous task.
Every property owner. That would be a bit challenging.
It might be a bit challenging, correct.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the voting members of the commission?
I guess I'll just reiterate that I would have liked to have seen this move forward. There's been so much work in the past with the neighborhood and staff to come up with a private agreement. But without that private agreement tonight, I'm left with the feelings that I've already stated. And so I'm prepared to make a motion if there's no further discussion. And that motion would be to follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Please post. One, two, three. So the motion to deny carries.
No, Chairman.
But it doesn't. We still don't have a.
We still don't have a majority of the Planning Commission. We need 4 for something to pass on a motion to deny. So I suppose what you need to do is make the opposite motion to approve. Even if it gets 4, it doesn't pass, but then you can move forward with no recommendation, if you would like to do so.
So I guess that leaves it to me to make a motion for approval.
And even if it passes, it goes forward with no recommendation.
Right. But
okay.
It seems like I'd rather do something than get stuck in a catch-22. And I think there's been enough work done that the neighbors and the applicant have shown a continued willingness to work. So I'm going to make a motion for approval and see where it goes.
Okay, and I would hope that the neighbors here understand the predicament we're in and the results of a positive vote means that it goes to the city council with no recommendation. Okay, so a motion has been made. You ready to make the motion?
It's been made.
Motion's made. Please cast your votes. Please post.
Did you mean to abstain? No. Okay. So your vote was? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, you have a motion there to approve a GPA that fails because we failed to get a supermajority of the Planning Commission. So, Mr. Director, I think this would go forward with no recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Okay. And we still need action on item number 15, which is a separate item.
In regards to item number 15, I'd already read it into the record, I believe. Yes. Need a motion regarding 15? Same story.
Same story, and my motion will be to follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Please post.
Well, because of the abstentions, Chairman, we still don't have a majority of the Planning Commission that voted, and therefore there was no action taken.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make one brief comment as we go forward. I voted not to approve the zoning, not because I don't believe that there's an appropriate solution, but it's not unlimited C1. I don't think anybody, the applicant isn't even standing up or saying he wants unlimited C1. But that's the only opportunity before us, and unless there's a vehicle to get something with some detailed restrictions, I wouldn't support the C1 for the neighbors in a general form. So that's based on how I voted. So,
Mr. Chairman, these items go forward to the City Council on November the 16th.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you.
Okay. Hope we can be a little clearer on future items. Okay, in regards to item number 16 and a companion item number 17, which have direct impact on number 37, so we'll bring it forward and hear it right after 17. But in regards to item number 16, General Plan Amendment 41958, the Master Plan of Streets and Highways public hearing, the applicant owners, the City of Las Vegas, is for possible action on a request to amend the Master Plan of Streets and Highways to realign Sheep Mountain Parkway between Grand Teton Drive and Fort Apache Road and delete master planned roadways within the Kyle Canyon Master Plan area. Item number 17 is a vacation 42250. The applicant owners, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request for a petition to vacate portions of Sheep Mountain Parkway right-of-way grant. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, if, with your indulgence, we would like to read item number 37 into the record and actually hear that item first, as the outcome on that item may impact the voting on items 16 and 17.
Okay, thank you. Item number 37 is Director's Report 42266. The applicant is Carbon Advisors LLC. The owner is KAG Property LLC, for possible action on a request regarding amending the development agreement for the Kyle Canyon development on approximately 1,662 acres at the northwest corner of Fort Apache Road and Moccasin Road. Now we can go with the staff report for these guys.
Mr. Chairman, after many meetings with the applicant, we bring forward a planned development to amend the Kyle Canyon development agreement. Details of that amendment from the previous approval, the total dwelling units have been reduced from 16,000 units to 9,000 units. The master developer is to construct the permanent retention basins in exchange for 50.1 acre reduction in the Sheep Mountain Parkway right-of-way, which is the actions of 15 and 16. The master developer is to contribute $4.1 million for a fire station and $2 million for the Kyle Canyon interchange improvements. Park construction thresholds have been revised to allow for the construction at approximately 50% build-out point of the associated park area. The development standards manual has been revised to include 6 different residential standards and a blended use district standard. General commercial district standards are those of C2 zoning district standards found within the Unified Development Code. On your screen is a overall land use plan for the new agreement. The amended Kyle Canyon Development Agreement is in compliance with the Nevada Revised Statutes 278.0201 through 278.0207. It addresses goal number 3 of the Las Vegas 2020 Master Plan. It generally meets the intent of the objectives put forth in goal number 3. And it also meets the objectives of 3.5 to enhance the visual quality of new development within the city, and objective 3.6. Staff is recommending approval. The applicant is requesting to amend a portion of the development agreement, and I'm going to let the applicant present that item regarding parcel E21 and some use restrictions on that site and some development standards.
Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and invite anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on the matter to please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. State your case.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Bob Gronauer. I'm with the law firm of Kemper Kroll. To my right is Mike Ross. He's with Carwin Advisors, and we're both here tonight representing the property owner in regards to this development agreement. The first thing that I'd like to do is give you a little bit of a historical background with respect to the Kyle Canyon Development Agreement. As some of you may know, this development agreement was initially approved and adopted in 2007. Since 2007, there's been significant changes. Obviously, one is there's a new property owner. The initial owner of the property and developer is no longer involved in this process, and Mike and I are here representing the new owner on the property. Number two, when this development agreement was adopted and approved, there was a different economic climate back in 2007. And the reason why I point that out is because the economic climate dictated a certain type of market and a certain type of development back in 2007. Today in 2011, this development agreement is not necessarily applicable for the development that we need to adjust to the market today. But mind you, this is really no different than the other master plan communities that were approved back in 2007 and 2006. Those master plan communities, one in Sparata, the other one in Park Highlands in North Las Vegas, are going through similar changes to the development agreement because those development agreements also were approved at a time that's different and is not as truly as applicable today as it would be in 2007. So that takes us to the process of where we are at today. Mike and I have been working with your staff to close to about 2 years on this development agreement. It's been a long road. There's been some highs and some lows as you go through, but it's no different as you go through any other agreement. One of the things that on behalf of Mike and myself we do want to stress on the record, you have a tremendous staff. The people that are here in the audience tonight have been a part of many hours of addressing various issues within the development agreement. I can honestly tell you from Mike's position and my position, although we had some philosophical differences with respect to the way things should be done, your staff has been first class, very professional in handling this situation. As a matter of fact, as I go through the highlights in this, you'll understand that what your staff has done on the redo of this development agreement, they've taken the problems or issues that have come up in other master plan communities, and what they've done in this development agreement and negotiations is make sure that they tied up some of those loose ends so they don't have to experience the same problems that they've experienced in other master plan communities. And again, that's why I wanted to say thanks to your staff. It's been a long process, but we respect everything that we've went through over the last, as I said, the last 2 years. Now I'm going to get into the development agreement itself. I'd like to highlight a couple changes. As Mike and I, as was standing up before you, we believe some of these changes are significant, which makes the development agreement better, not only for the developer, but for the city of Las Vegas. For example, the first item that I think is very important In this master plan community, we're reducing the density from 16,000 units down to 9,000 units. That alone within itself should be a win for anybody, because when I go through the amenities within this master plan community, one of the things that you're going to appreciate even more is that although we reduce the density, we have not really reduced the amount of amenities that was for 15,000 units versus 9,000 units, which means there's going to be more freedom of open space in the public facilities to be used by less people within this master plan community. One of the amenities I do want to highlight to you is we've increased the amount of acreage for the schools. We still have, even though with a significant reduction in the density, we are still providing land to be dedicated for an elementary school, middle school, and a high school. That still stays. Typically, when you reduce density, there's less of a demand for the schools, and you could remove a school or two. In addition to that, in working with the school district, what this agreement is going to require, which the other agreement didn't, we have to sit down with the school district and do a memorandum of understanding where, in fact, we're going to be providing utilities, wet and dry utilities, to the site itself. So in regards to the school situation, as far as the agreement that's on the table versus the proposed one that we have today, this one far exceeds that in that category. The next issue is what's always big in master plan communities. If you think of master plan communities such as Summerlin, what makes Summerlin is the parks and the trails. In this agreement, as your staff has pointed out, as you read in the staff report, we exceed the 2020 master plan for park and recreational park requirements. And because of that, what we're doing in here, we have community trails connecting to regional trails. We have trails that are linked to all parks. And as staff has mentioned, we have exceptional multimodal transportation within the community. We have bike lanes, we have walking paths, we have arroyos, etc. So that, if anything, has not changed despite the fact that we have reduced the density significantly. With respect to other public facilities in this development agreement, what the city is going to get is a contribution from the developer of $4.1 to $4.2 million to build a fire station. This fire station isn't to serve just this master plan community, but is designed to serve outside the master plan community. We're going to be making financial contributions for a Metro substation. That the agreement, within the agreement, states that within a year of the completion of the master plan community, Metro is required to build a substation based on our contributions. We're providing a 2.5-acre regional transportation center, park and ride, that's going to be located within the master plan community itself. A big item that it took a long time to discuss, and this is on the engineering side and from the public works side, is we are taking the Sheep Mountain Parkway from where it was just approved for the previous developer to be further to the north, and we're relocating that Sheep Mountain Parkway to its original location. By doing that, the thing I want to point out here is what's even more important from the technical side is in the old agreement, the developer was required to do temporary detention basins. In this agreement, the developer on the west side of the property here, as Mike's pointing out here, is required to do permanent detention basins. This is the infrastructure and the agreements that weren't in the previous agreement, but this is actually going to be helping even the people who don't live in this master plan community, because you're dealing with potential flooding issues, which is on the east side of 95. A great win situation, not only for the developer, but for the city of Las Vegas. And then we've also agreed to make a contribution to the Kyle Canyon interchange, or that money that we contribute can be used for other regional traffic projects within the northwest area here that are located within proximity of our master plan community. And then finally, which I said earlier, I'm not going to get into, because if you want to get into the technical stuff, we could have Bart and we could have Mike talk about it like I had to listen with everybody else in these meetings. They talk about the SIDs and the way the streets are going to be designed and so on. The bottom line is, and your staff is here, they could tell you, is they're more comfortable with this development agreement today than where they were back in 2007, based on some of the changes and some of the things that you've run into because of some of the development issues. The last thing that I want to highlight here is is the neighborhood situation here. We were not required to have a neighborhood meeting. As you know, there's no requirement for a developer or owner to come in with a development agreement to have a neighborhood meeting. We worked with your staff and sent out about a quarter-mile radius around the master plan community, which came out to over 2,000 notices for a neighborhood meeting. We've had 3 neighborhood meetings. The first neighborhood meeting, we had approximately, staff says 53 people showed up at that first neighborhood meeting. During that meeting, we flushed out all the issues. And obviously, there's people that liked it, there's some people that didn't like it, or some people still had concerns. After that meeting, we realized what some of the issues were, so we had a second neighborhood meeting. That second neighborhood meeting, we focused more on one of the areas that I want to discuss here quickly. I'm going to show you this map here. It's blown up in a specific area. This is actually on the east side of US 95, and this is the overpass here for Horse Drive. So it's Horse and 95. These properties in question were an issue with some of the neighbors that lived across the way. Initially, the concern that was brought to our attention in the first meeting was there's a concern with commercial, with the 2 existing elementary schools in the area that have commercial planned in this area. There's some neighbors that had some legitimate concerns with respect to worried about the concerns with commercial interfering with elementary school students, etc. What we did and what I passed out to you is an amendment that we would like to add into, for the record, into the development agreement. More specifically, it would be in the development standards and design guidelines. And in there, I have it highlighted under restricted uses. And what we would be doing is making a specific condition for these parcels to have certain requirements and conditions. The first thing that I want to point out to you is, as I have handed out, is the concern was about having access on the Brent Lane. Ironically, when we're working with your traffic, we realized that currently there was a traffic study that has been done for the existing development agreement that already has access going out on the Brent Lane. So one of the things that we agreed to with the neighbors is, although it constrains the property a little bit more for development, we've agreed not to provide any ingress or egress out onto Brent Lane, which is one of the conditions as number 1 to develop on parcel E-21. With respect to the development on the edge of the property to the north, we agreed to build an 8-foot high decorative block wall. We've also agreed to increase the landscaping along Brent Lane to 30 feet in width. And as you can see in the condition here is we would provide either a double row of Mondale pine trees, or a space at 15 feet on center, or some other similar species of tree spacing that would be required at the site development plan review stage. There are some concerns about certain uses. We had a big philosophical debate over these meetings about uses that should be prohibited. I've given you a list of things that we said we would prohibit, such as a tavern, a liquor store, tattoo parlor, body piercing studio, sexually oriented businesses, and financial institutions specified is prohibited. Now, the reason why I said specified is because in your code, as we know, we call them payday loans. In your definition, technically or legally, they are defined as I just stated, as a financial institution specified. In addition to a condition that we want to put in regards to a requirement for development on this property is that any application that comes forward on this property, which is on E-21, would be required to come through as a site development plan review as a public hearing. Now, I don't know if there's some neighbors here to address some of these issues, but the issue that came up and the concern of the neighbors is, well, we're concerned about all these other uses that are out there. We were concerned about alcohol, we're concerned about gaming, we're concerned about this and that, about drive-thrus. The one thing that we've asked them, and we're asking you, is to use the balance of reasonableness here. Our concern is we're dealing with a 1,600-acre master plan community. We believe, by the stuff that I've highlighted to you, that this master plan community is far superior than the one that you approved in 2007. what we believe is giving us the opportunity to bring a tenant here, such as a Cheesecake Factory or a BJ's or whatever else you want to think in your mind, give them the opportunity to do a special use permit and have it judged by the neighbors and by you at a public hearing at some point in time in the future. To try to plan a specific property such as this is, I think I use a phrase, is you kind of cut your nose off to spite your face, because you don't want to prohibit so many uses on a piece of property where by doing so you remove the first tier of commercial clients right off the list. And now you get to a second tier of commercial tenants on the property. And that's the unintended consequences that happen when you just go ahead blindly and come in and just say we want to restrict everything. And what we ask, and I know we've had philosophical differences with one or two of the neighbors, of the leaders here, we're just asking for some patience and for some reasonableness, is let us come back when there's a specific zoning matter to address those issues. Because you will deal respectfully with each application as it comes before you. That being said, again, Mike and I are both here standing before you. We're proud to say we've negotiated another development agreement here. It's very important. This is for the future of the city of Las Vegas. We believe we've done a tremendous job in making the development agreement better than where it was before. And again, on behalf of Mike and myself, we want to thank your staff very much for working with us over the last 2 years, and we're excited, and we can't wait to get into the next development agreement.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please come forward at this time.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting for members of the public to come forward, let me just put for the record that we received a late email from Todd Schwartz, Board President for Spring Mountain Ranch Master Association. A copy of that email has been provided to all of the planning commissioners and also to the city clerk and will be included in the record. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that we are including that as part of the public record.
Thank you. Mr. Farlow?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Some 7 or 8 years ago, Councilman Mack invited me to a charrette on this. Commissioner Truesdale was there. Some of the planning staff was there. This is a long time ago. This was going to be the cat's meow. This was going to be dual water systems, self-sustaining. I mean, this was going to be something really nice. Now, Mr. Gronauer has said that he's presenting something better. So basically, I have to direct my question to Commissioner Truesdale because he was there. Is this better? The other thing that I have a problem with, he says that they're going to reduce the density to 16,000 to 9,000. During the charrette, they presented, now I understand there's new owners now, it was presented that all income levels of housing was going to be represented there. So if they're reducing this from 16,000 units to 9,000, that means that the remaining units, the 9,000, are going to have to be hoi polloi, and that the low income are going to be factored out of this. And I have a real problem with that, because that is not how it was originally presented to us. Basically, that I'm glad to see that the trails are all there, but again, I guess my questions would be presented to Commissioner Truesdale because he was there at the time, if he remembers that. That was a long time ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible action. Let me just ask the question that's got to be asked then. What is the, I know you can't give me a dollar value, but is the spread of the intended development of the homes going to address all income levels?
The
was an
charrette
attractive feature.
Excuse me. The charrette, Mike Ross, Carwin Advisors. The charrette resulted in a resolution passed by the City Council, and that resolution recommended 9,500 residential units for this development. It was ultimately approved at 16,000. So the 9,000 cap that we have now is very close to the results that came out of the original charrette. There is a lot of flexibility in the design standards. which will allow for the development of all price points of new housing, from the very low end of the market up to the possibility of large lot gated community and parcels.
So you're going to build what you think you can sell.
Absolutely.
Remarkable concept. Thank you.
You want me to?
Commissioner Truesdale, do you have any thoughts on the matter as requested?
To answer some of Mr. Farlow's questions, you know, you only have to look to some of the other planned communities in town. Desert Shores, the lakes, even Summerlin. At one point, those planned communities all were submitted with much higher densities as the market and the world changed, and even with the demand for housing and land prices, they ultimately became smaller and better developments. So what's presented here, you know, it's always going to be in the delivery based on the market and our overall economy, but the lesser density here with the same amenity packages and parks and public space and open space, I think is going to make this development will still keep the intent of the original charrette while they're not obligated to, but I think there was a lot of work that went into that, and I think even though this property's gone through a lot of financial turmoil, I think the owners still see the value in creating the right community. Otherwise, they aren't creating any value. I mean, this is a pretty picture, and if they don't deliver something, they'll never sell their dirt to the developers to bring good product to the marketplace. The rest of that is up to us to kind of help oversee as things come before us. So,
Thank you. When I read this email that we had just received and was just distributed to the planning staff, I see, you know, the second paragraph has some comments about deficiencies of notification, but as you stated, a neighborhood meeting was not required, and so deficiencies of a non-required meeting don't carry a lot of weight. But we do get down to the third paragraph, and they ask for two things in that paragraph. One is they're asking for a little restriction on this land that would include off-site liquor sales restricted to grocery stores only over 12,000 feet, and another request is no restricted gaming license. Now, I'm assuming this is on the east side of 95.
Yes. It's on the property right here, as I'm showing you on the overhead. You have Fort Apache, which is designed to be 120-foot right-of-way. You have Horse, the overpass, the interchange located right here. Get off 95 on the Horse or Fort Apache up here.
Right. I'm focused in on that. What my question, I guess, is does this development document as proposed have restrictions against off-site liquor sales that would restrict them to structures larger than 12,000?
No, we had discussions with the neighbors on this. The concern that we have is we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if it's the ABC convenience store is going to expand in other segments in the city of Las Vegas or in the Las Vegas Valley. We don't know if it's a Trader Joe's. There may be another concept of Fresh and Easy. We just don't know, and that was part of my spiel about let's not just go and start restricting things, because if somebody's going to come in with a grocery store or some type of smaller store, let them go through the process. They're going to go through the neighborhood, and if the neighborhood doesn't like it, this chamber will be filled with the neighbors, and you'll hear at that point in time. But for us to just go and just say no, 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 no now, believe me, represent many commercial developers and tenants, they won't even look at this property if there's a restriction on it. Give them the opportunity to make a case to somebody, is our point.
And the other issue that they point out is a triangular piece of land between Sky Point and Fort Apache. Originally, the focus group, which I know you have no responsibilities for following through on their promises, but they had agreed to landscape that little triangular piece with trees to help reduce the noise and lights of the roads. Is that an issue, or has that been addressed?
That hasn't been addressed, but we could agree to doing that. This piece here has a very steep slope coming down from the road to the existing houses. You don't see it much from the roadway. It's not really an entry to the project or anything like that, but it is, I would imagine, an eyesore looking from the neighbors looking to the west, and we could agree to landscape
Okay,
that.
we would need to probably put that in as a condition in some language. But then you did, in this thing that was just passed out this just a few minutes ago about restricted uses, you did include on 2 of those parcels total of over 20 acres east of 95. So this is the area where the homes are, the people's greatest concerns. You did put in 2 restrictions that will, for both parcels, prohibit the development of taverns, liquor stores, tattoo parlors, sexually oriented businesses, and the financial institutions specified. So I think that's a fairly significant concession that should address the majority of the concerns of the folks over there, plus the landscaping of that triangular remnant. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, through you, a few comments. Number one, I want to make it clear that I also reviewed Mr. Schwartz's email dated today at about 3:08 p.m. I think that we've addressed most of those issues today, and that they've been thoroughly discussed in the 3 neighborhood meetings that we've been to. I agree that there's wisdom in not over-restricting this. I think we bring in we're more likely to bring in a higher quality type of tenant. And frankly, there's protection built into this process, with someone having to come in on an SDR or an SUP. So I feel comfortable there. I know this is an agreed on condition, but I just want to talk for a minute about what I'll call the Great Wall of Brent Lane. We can prevent access to Brent Lane without creating a fortress wall there. And, maybe down the road as an applicant comes in, we could consider, I hope, not raising it, but even bringing it down a couple of feet. I just don't see that we need such a monster there. But I like what we've done. We've made tremendous progress on this, and for that reason, you're going to see my support on this tonight.
Anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, one brief comment. I agree with Commissioner Moody. Going 8, 10, 15, we don't do our kids, we don't do our schools, and we don't do our development design standards any good by just making taller walls. The better is to make a better neighborhood. So I have a problem just saying that wall is going to be at 8 feet today, because without seeing the overall development. I'm good with all the rest of this language. I understand that the developers worked hard with the neighbors, or and it seems evident by Ms. Schwartz's email that they, even though there's never enough meetings, but on the other hand, there's a lot of concession. But I just have a problem putting a standard of 8 feet on a wall that might be out of scale based on the overall quality of the neighborhood and what's there. So I would be more inclined to, on that point, leave it to the general standards, 6 feet. We can always talk about if there's an issue going in the future, we could talk about it. But I just think just making taller walls out of the gate isn't the way to make a good community.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just a couple comments. I too have reviewed the letter and also attended, I believe, 2 of those neighborhood meetings. And in here, it mentions that a citizens advisory committee was promised to be formed, which it never was. Was that ever mentioned as part of this development agreement?
No, not coming from us, no.
Okay. And so, in those neighborhood meetings, and I know Mr. Schwartz is the president of the Spring Mountain Ranch Homeowners Association, which is numbered over 1,600 people. But yet, at each of those meetings, I didn't see the which you normally would see at a neighborhood meeting. If there was just this vehement opposition to this, you would see those folks come out in droves. And Mr. Chairman hasn't opened it up for public hearing, but I don't know how many folks in the audience are here to oppose this anyway. But, you know, there's been some discussions between the homeowners president out there and some other concerned advocates for the neighborhood that have talked about what a lot of times we talk in terms up here that are hard to understand. I try to put it in simple layman's terms. But like I told them, we go by the moniker of Sin City, but what you're asking here is to make it into Saint City. And I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, Mr. Schwartz goes on in paragraph 4 to talk about recent studies by USC that show that juvenile crime, property value, and others are all tied to the availability of alcohol through off-site sales and broken package sales. You can't put that on the developer. Now, if you've got juveniles that are going into these establishments that are getting liquor and however they go about doing it, that's on the auspices of the business owner. And that's why we have laws to prevent that, and that's why you go into these stores and you nail the clerk that's selling to juveniles and minors. And then again, to take it all the way back home, if you got juveniles that are doing that, something's wrong in the house. And so you can't put this on the developer. Something's wrong with the way those parents are raising those kids. So that's where that issue, I believe, has to be put. I've looked at this. I think reducing it to 9,000 units, I'm really impressed that the developer is leaving the amenities the same. So you're going to get a lot more with a lot less units. You get your trails in, you get your walking paths, you get the fire station, you get the Metro substation, 2.5 acres of a transportation system, and they're going to realign the Sheep Mountain Parkway. And then we talk about across the street from Brent Lane, where I guess they want to make this into the pristine, nothing's there. But in the agreement, we just heard him say with item number 4 that a tavern, liquor store, tattoo parlor, piercing studio, sexually oriented business, and financial institution specified is prohibited. So I think that takes all of that impact that some folks think that's going to happen across the street from that school. I think that alleviates a lot of that. And just today, I was out at 1:30 by my office at Tenaya and Lake Mead, where Cimarron Memorial High School lets out at about 1:30. And I observed a number of youth that crossed the street of Lake Mead, which was a busy street. There's a number of businesses there. There's a convenience store on the corner. There's a firehouse sub. There's a golf shop. There's a myriad of youth uses, and some of these restaurants have the alcohol use. But I didn't see youth dodging traffic in and out of shopping centers. I didn't see anybody approaching youth trying to antagonize them or pull them in the car or any of these things that some of these folks out here seem to think may happen out here in front of Brent Lane. And I'm a big advocate of protections of schools. I'm the namesake on a school in North Las Vegas through my parents, so I work every day with youth. And so some of these things that people think are happening, we need to go back to the fundamentals of what people are doing in their home to raise their kids and not try to put this onus on the business community. I think they've done a great job at moving forward with this plan, but I do think that it warrants the discussion at some point to even discuss putting in a community in Las Vegas that you could call, and I term it again, the saint community, where you don't have anything there but no liquor, no anything. I think it warrants a discussion. I think at some point down the road we may have communities that may reflect that. But Kyle Canyon is something we had to deal with. I mean, the economic downturn kind of brought us to this point. If we didn't have this economic downturn, we probably wouldn't even be here discussing it, and we'd be looking forward to a lot of these uses in here that included the taverns, the supper clubs, and things like that. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
just 2 quick questions. At one point, whenever I was reading through the backup material, and it was 2 months ago when I met with you, but the alcohol-related uses where you wanted to allow them to be in a particular zone by right, that's been reversed back to special use permit?
Special use permits.
Okay. And the second item is when you mentioned that each of the parcels, I guess on the map that you have in front of you, the 3 purple parcels, each property would have to have its own SDR, or each business?
No, the only parcel, the 13.77 acre parcel, if you take a look on the handout, those conditions are specific to the 13.77 acre parcel, which is located here. The other 2 parcels, we just put the condition to put the restriction, which is a 7 acre parcel and a 4 acre parcel. We just put the restriction on of the prohibited uses. And the reason is the focus was mainly on this parcel here, and that is probably the bigger of the development that you're going to be able to see some type of neighborhood commercial there. The other 2 parcels, because of constraints of slopes and right turns in or restricted access in and out to the property, you're not going to see much there as far as what types of uses that may be able to go there. So, and in hindsight, I mean, if needed to be, and we could adjust as we go to the city council, we don't have a problem to put a site development plan review as a public hearing on those other 2 parcels. It doesn't make a difference, because at the end of the day, we know, it's spoken loud and clear, is you're going to have to go to those neighbors there and work with them prior to even getting to your first public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one other question. Mr. Gronauer, number 5, the site development plan review. So across the street from Brent Lane to the north, if there's going to be small retail, supermarket, or any type of medium retail, that says that a site development plan review application is required for that development, which means neighbors will have an opportunity to speak about uses that are coming there.
Yes, because typically your uses are going to be tied to a special use permit.
Yes.
However, if there is a use that does not require a special use permit, it may be allowed in there as of a right. This condition here covers that, at least that's the intent, so the neighbors understand what is going to be built in that commercial shopping center.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, what's important is to understand, though, is that we don't have the ability to use an SDR to deny a use. As you know, it's really to look at the aesthetics of the environment, to look at the ingress and egress of the traffic, some of the life safety concerns. So what I thought I might have heard you say, Commissioner, was can we decide whether or not uses should be here or not based upon an SDR? The answer is probably not.
Okay. Any other comments? If not,
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman. On your restricted uses that you gave us here just a little while ago, I heard Commissioner Moody and Commissioner Truesdale talking about the 8-foot fence. I think you may want to remove item number 2 from Roman numeral 1, where it says it's the 13.77 acre parcel, because based on their comments, they didn't want to really see an 8-foot wall here, and your restricted uses is mandating it at this time.
And what we can do is, if it's the direction of the Planning Commission, we put a minimum 6-foot high decorative wall, because then what that does with the future development is, I think Commissioner Truesdale mentioned, if somebody says that they want it to be 7 foot high and there's a reason to have a 7 foot high wall versus 6, the condition in here doesn't restrict you to only have a 6 foot high wall. Just say, I think that's a quick fix, and we can do that at your discretion.
okay, thank you. I think we're ready for a motion now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to item 37, DIR 42266, move to approve the amendment of the development agreement for the Kyle Canyon development with the amended conditions.
And if I just could cut in real quick here, Chairman, I would just say that the amended conditions should be made into amendments for the development agreement prior to introduction of this development agreement as an ordinance before the City Council. That way, the developer and our staff can work to make sure we get everything you see on this piece of paper, written the way it should be written for our City Council.
Accept that as a friendly amendment? Or?
As so amended.
Okay. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you. We can now go back to item number 16 and 17, titles of which have been read into the record already. So, staff report, please.
Actually, I'll defer to Mr. McDermott from Public Works.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Greg McDermott. I'm with the Department of Public Works, 333 North Rancho Drive, and I'm here to speak on items 16 and 17. As Mr. Gronauer had already presented, both of these items are in support of the development agreement that you already approved. The need of the need for the Master Plan of Streets and Highways Amendment, quite simply, is just to wipe this slate clean for the development agreement. There were some roadway alignments that are shown in red and green on this exhibit that were previously under the prior development agreement. We want to clear those existing roadway alignments, which will allow for their new roadways to come forth. And then, as Mr. Gronauer had also mentioned, we'd like to move the Sheep Mountain Parkway just in this area from the north alignment that was in the prior development agreement to this southern alignment. That's item 16. And in regards to item 17, that is also a vacation in support of a new permanent detention basin that the owner has proposed along the western side along Pooley that will reduce the need for some of our drainage facilities within the Sheep Mountain Parkway. I think that's basically it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Now, anyone in attendance wishing to speak on either of these items, please come forward and give your name for the record and state your case. Seeing no one make a move, I think that I can close the public hearing and turn it over to planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Ready?
There's no discussion, Mr. Chair. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you.
Which would be for approval of GPA 41958, following staff's recommendation for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries. And in regards to item number 17?
VAC 42250, also move to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, items 16 and 17 go forward to City Council on November the 16th, as does item number 37 in ordinance format.
Okay. Items 18, 19, and 20 have been obeyed. We now move to item number 21. It's a modification, 42984. The applicant is Great American Capital. The owner is Lone Mountain Plaza LLC et al. For possible action on a request for a major modification of the Lone Mountain Master Plan to amend the land use designation from neighborhood commercial to village commercial at the northeast corner of Cheyenne Avenue and Wallapai Way. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining on this.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining as well, based on my earlier representations.
Dropping like flies. It leaves us with four. What's that?
We had two that abstained?
Yes, we did, and one absent.
But now we only have three on the dais, so we need to wait for one more. So we need to take a little bit of a break before we...
Okay, I think we're getting close to the 8 o'clock break time anyway, so I'll call a slight recess here. Thank you very much for your patience.
Reactionary, it's just immediate response. Yeah, it's just you just want to say. So you understand it, relax.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Ask questions to get the information.
Yeah.
And then if you want to throttle somebody,
Yeah.
okay, at least you have to go with the facts.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's just peculiar. I've never seen anybody who's so far removed have so much kind of accusatory, as you put it. It's really bizarre. What are you gonna do? You get it. It's the way it is. Now, so what is her consultant? I'm not quite clear. I mean, she's a sort of outside consultant.
I'm not sure. Really?
Oh, okay.
You know, truly,
It's not just me.
I'm a consultant as well.
Right. Right. Yeah, you explained that at the beginning, but her role, I don't get.
Yeah, it's there's a very, very close relationship with our partners. And I can't.
So she's, whatever that is, she's got the blessing of somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that explains it. You don't have to be anybody, as long as
Yeah.
the partner wants you in, you're in, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all it takes.
That's all it is. Yeah, go ahead.
a good place to be. Line of fire.
Well, these guys, because
What's
it's
that?
going to be a lengthy
Yeah, I'm going to read that.
Yeah. George, could I ask you guys to step aside for just one quick item? We've got an item 30 that involves someone that's having an emergency.
Sure.
If we would, just take us a second. Yeah, that's
Very impressive. That's the kind of record. LSU.
just a second. Once, just you can stay right there. Just be a minute.
Chairman, did you lose your quorum again?
Apparently.
You do have certain powers.
Oh, yeah? Share those.
You run the meeting, but without your quorum,
Do we have a
you have no meeting.
do we have a fire bell or anything? There's one.
I was back there waiting.
There we go. You know, we don't get paid overtime, you know. Herding cats. Now we're set. Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order, and I'd like to jump ahead to item number 30, which is a special use permit 43011, a special use permit public hearing. The applicant is Sonia Corredor, the owner of Decatur, Washington Shopping Center LLC. It's for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a jewelry store, Class 3, use within an existing jewelry store, new, at 840 North Decatur Boulevard, Suite A, APN 139-30-301-005, limited commercial zone. That's where we are, so staff report, please.
The proposed use complies with all Title 19 requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing surrounding development and land uses, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Ask anyone in attendance that would like to speak on the matter to come forward and state your name for the record.
My name is Sonia Corredor. I mean, it's my first time here, so I don't know what to
Okay.
say. But I'm just requesting this.
There are conditions involved in your request. Can you accept those conditions?
I will.
Thank you. And this, what this entire item do will allow you as an existing businesswoman selling jewelry to now start buying and selling gold and
Yeah.
silver. Okay, that's what the issue is. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, seeing none, well-kept area, road wide there today. Keep up the good work. I'll move for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and condition.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries. Congratulations and run home quick.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I have? No. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're done? Done. Go in peace. We now move back to item number 21, which you've heard that before. I didn't make it up. Okay. Item number 21 is modification 42984. I read this before, didn't I? Before we stopped and lost my quorum. Okay, the item has already been introduced. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the subject site, which is located within the Lone Mountain Master Plan area, consists of two parcels containing an existing 25,572 square foot shopping center. The pad at the corner of Cheyenne and Wallapai is undeveloped. The plan currently designates these parcels for neighborhood commercial uses, which imposes restrictions on the size and type of commercial development to ensure compatibility with the neighbor residential development. The applicant is requesting a change to this designation to village commercial, which would allow for fewer restrictions for commercial development on the site. As the site qualifies for village commercial designations pursuant to the Lone Mountain Master Development Plan, there are a few similar zone properties in the area, and the change in designation will not negatively impact the land uses Staff does recommend approval. Please note, we have received additional protests since publication.
Yes, and along those lines, for the record, I would like to introduce and submit to the city clerk a petition that we had just received. It was mailed to Councilman Anthony's office with signatures, several pages. I'm not going to count them all, in opposition to the development. So let me give this to the clerk for the file. Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and invite anyone in attendance who wants to speak on the matter to step forward, give their name for the record, and state your case.
Chairman, Commissioners, George Garcia, 1711 Whitney Mesa Drive, Suite 110. Pleasure to be before you. And with me tonight is Matt Huss from Great American Capital. Matt, if you'll give your address.
Good evening. It's Great American Capital, 8350 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 210, and that's Las Vegas.
Thank you.
I believe many of you probably know, but if you don't, Great American Capital is a commercial developer and has quite a few successful projects throughout the valley. And they not only develop and build, but they return them in a portfolio. And this one has been and remains in their portfolio today. And as you saw in the photograph that was up just briefly before, but I'll put it up again, this project is very attractively designed and well maintained. Certainly exceeds your typical kind of boxy-looking commercial. The signage on it is low. In this particular one, very low monument sign right here on the corner. So it's been a very tasteful project. Fits in well with the project. The difficulty has been, and I'll go back to the aerial, that both in this commercial environment today, obviously people are seeking tenants to try to keep their centers well maintained and occupied. To be able to keep debt service the property and maintain that upkeep. In addition to trying to attract new tenants into the existing inline space and the buildings that are there, you can see this white area here over on the western corner of the project, and right on the immediate corner of Hualapai and Cheyenne, is vacant land and has remained vacant for a substantial period of time. And has not been able to be developed in large part because of the restrictions in the neighborhood commercial that are part of the Lone Mountain Master Plan. They are extremely limited in terms of the opportunity for, say, for restaurant-type development. And in order to be able to have those opportunities, not only to attract into the inline, but into that vacant pad, we're seeking to change the commercial designation from neighborhood commercial to village commercial. And we are at the intersection of two major arterials on Hualapai and Cheyenne, both significant major streets, lots of traffic. And we have commercial to the east of us. We have some higher density residential to the north. And then across the street, we have some single family residential to the west. What we would propose to do is maintain the integrity of the shopping center in terms of the design, the aesthetics, the signage, the lighting, those types of things, and come back certainly for a site plan review, site development review, and do that before you so that everybody can see what the project's going to contain when that time comes. But we did have a neighborhood meeting, and we did present that today's commercial use, basically, that would normally fit in neighborhood commercial would be C1. And we did a comparison. We had one person in attendance. We did a comparison, essentially, and not that you can read here, but we did a comparison for the neighbors, and we went through. Here's what the Lone Mountain neighborhood commercial is. Here's what the village commercial allows, and here's what C1 allows. Essentially, the village commercial is actually lower in terms of the number and types of permitted uses and the intensity than C1 commercial. So while we're asking to go above the neighborhood commercial, we don't even reach the level of the current C1 commercial. So, and those types of uses that I guess would be typically the most troublesome, such as alcohol uses, all of those require special use permits. So we're not asking for any alcohol uses, certainly not a tavern. But if at any point in time that were to ever occur as a result of this, under the village commercial, there's a list in the Lone Mountain plan that specifies that you need a special use permit, and we certainly are not seeking to make that change. We concur with the staff recommendation and be happy to answer any questions. I will indicate to you that just in terms of the neighborhood sentiment that we experienced when we set out on this course, we surveyed 80 homes directly, asked them what they would like to see. We didn't give them choices. We didn't force choices. They asked them what to see. And the types of things they're looking for are more food services, more services in general, basically for their neighborhood, and certainly this is an opportunity for us to provide those. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be happy to respond after the neighbors present.
Thank you. The public hearing is open. Anyone else wishing to speak, please approach the mic and give your name.
Keith Goodman, 3317 White Bark Pine Street. We're in the subdivision that is along Wallapai. It's a gated community. Previously, when they were building this center, previous to that, they tried this same thing to change the zoning exactly the same as they're doing now. And we don't see any reason why it needs to be changed.
My name is Bill Newbrough. I live in the Timberline neighborhood, which is adjacent to this property across the street from on Hualapai. In talking to the neighbors in that area, there's a mystery as to who was notified, because nobody that I've talked to knew anything about this. People in the shopping center, I talked to two of the businesses there just in the past week. They didn't know anything about it. It was a mystery to them. I did see the sign that was posted on Hualapai and the one that was posted on Cheyenne. It's one of those things you can drive by and not see it. One of those things that's kind of hidden in plain view. But to their credit, it was posted. But the people in my neighborhood are concerned about what the potential future possibilities are. What we have now is a family-friendly shopping plaza that we're happy with. True, there are a couple vacant spots in it, but the people that I've surveyed do not want to see any major changes that would bring in businesses that are detrimental to a young community with a lot of children. And we also have an elementary school within a block of this area. Lots of young children that go by there on a daily basis. So we would not want to see any negative impact on what we consider to be a family-friendly shopping plaza. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I have sympathy for all the property owners. I really do. But we don't want to backslide into oblivion. And he's got a nice shopping center, looks nice, and I know he needs money to keep that thing up. But still, anybody does not want to be next to a tire shop or something like that. So, I mean, those restrictions were put there on purpose. And again, I just don't want us backsliding in something bad.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and offer the proponent the opportunity to respond to some of those observations. And
Mr. Chairman, yeah, absolutely. I think the neighbors expressed it well. It's a great center. It's a great family place, and that's because Great American Capital, that's the kind of operation they are, and that's what they do throughout all of their facilities, well-maintained, take care of and respectful to the community. They're active in the community in many ways. The uses we're seeking here are not anti-family. In fact, I would call them neighborhood-friendly. If you go through the list, and we'll happy to share this with the neighbors when we leave, since we haven't been in contact with them before tonight. There's, for example, a liquor establishment special use permit. Obviously, we'd have to come back and seek that if that were to ever occur. That is, we don't intend to seek it, but that would certainly be required. I'll give you an example of a reason why we are here. Back in 2005, one of the tenants that was sought, and it required a major modification just to get one tenant, was to add a dry cleaner as a permitted use. And so to add that one permitted use required a major mod just to add one tenant. What we're trying to do is open that opportunity to come back and add something like a dry cleaner, which is family friendly. It's a service to the neighborhood that does not require having to come back and go through this entire process. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we would hope you would follow staff and recommendation and be happy to answer any questions you have.
Public hearing is closed, and now it's open for discussion by the planning commissioners and possible motion. I would like to ask one question of staff. You mentioned in the staff report that gaming is not permitted in VC. Is that gaming of any size, type?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that is correct. Gaming is permitted in village commercial as an accessory use to an alcohol use. Standalone gaming would not be permitted. For instance, if the dry cleaners wanted to add gaming devices, that would not be permitted. But as an accessory use to alcohol, the gaming would be permitted as a restricted gaming.
And that would be associated with a special use permit for the alcohol.
Correct. They would. All of those require a special use permit.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Anybody has any? 1, 2, 3. We've got 4. Is that going to be enough on this one? 4 is an adequate number. Okay, the planning commissioner representing this area is abstained because of the conflict, so we're going to...
Leaves us in I mean, again, this is one of those items, we can vote on this. I don't know if holding it would get a supermajority here.
We can go.
No, we can?
Yeah, no, Chairman, if I may, in this case, you may go forward. This is a major modification, does not require a supermajority. So 4 is required, though, to pass, because 4 is a majority of the Planning Commission.
And, Mr. Chairman, I understand the neighbor's concern, but as again, these are developments where here a developer's proven that they're doing the right thing and they've maintained a well-developed center, and probably the only thing is that the corner pad that isn't filled, and I think the applicant has made a justified argument in what they want to do with the center, and I would follow staff's recommendation and for approval.
Okay. A motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Post. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion carries. We now move to item number 22.
Mr. Chairman, that item goes forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Item number 22 is zoning 42684. The applicant is the City of Las Vegas. The owners are Terry William B. et al. For possible action on a request for rezoning from single-family residential to professional office on 31 properties within the area generally located south of Clark Avenue and east of 6th Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this application will fix a previous item. Previously, the City of Las Vegas allowed zone variances and use variances on residential properties to allow offices where such uses are not permitted. The zoning code no longer permits such activity. These parcels have existed as a legal non-conforming use for many, many years. And as part of the Planning Department's efforts to clean up our zoning maps, we have gone out and sought to make changes to the zoning map to rezone these parcels to office, PO, which is the current uses of all of these parcels. The majority of them no longer have single-family homes on them. They've all been converted to offices through building permits, and this would clean up the zoning map and eliminate these use variances. The property owners themselves, having legal non-conforming uses, if they were to cease operation of the office for more than a year, they would no longer be allowed to reoccupy with an office, even though the structure has been converted as such. Or if there was a fire that caused more than 50% damage, they also could not re-tenant the building without a zone change. The city is sponsoring the zone change, so if any of that were to occur, the property owners would not be burdened with having to come back before this board to seek a zone change. And staff does recommend approval of this item.
Thank you. Now I'll declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Director Fegg, I thought we did this years ago. I thought this was all cleaned up. Fill me in on this. What did they do way back what, 5 years ago, they rezoned, or they were going to redo that whole thing as a development district or something. What happened to that?
Please, if you would.
Mr. Chairman, through you, the action did not go forward at that point in time. The land use currently does designate the area for professional office uses. However, we were not able to move forward with actually rezoning the properties.
I thought the big beef was the development south of Charleston.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. But this is a corrective action that will clean up these items.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding this item? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Cheers. No one else wants to talk.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is compatible with that whole neighborhood, and if you drive through that neighborhood, you'll see that most of it's turned into law offices, and professional office is compatible. So if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion.
Please proceed.
Make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Please post. Post. I did, yeah. It passed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this item goes forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Okay, we now move to item number 23, which is a variance, 42845. The applicant is First Good Shepherd Lutheran School. First Good Shepherd Lutheran School, I'm sorry. The owner is Church Lutheran Evangelical. For possible action on request for a variance to allow a 0-foot corner side yard setback for a shade structure where 5 feet is required at 301 South Maryland Parkway. Item number 24 is site development review, 42842. It's for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed playground with a waiver to allow no landscape buffer on a portion of the west perimeter where 10 feet is the minimum required, and a corresponding request for encroachment into the Maryland Parkway public right-of-way. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing a playground with a 12-foot tall shade structure that's partially within the Maryland Parkway right-of-way, adding an existing church and private school. The proposed location will place small children in an unsafe environment due to the exposure to noise, dust, exhaust, and the potential for vehicular accidents from traffic along Maryland Parkway. The proposed playground shade structure will necessitate the removal of 2 existing trees from the landscape buffer, resulting in a less aesthetically appealing site. Staff recommends denial of the request as it cannot be constructed in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing surrounding development due to the encroachment into the Maryland Parkway right-of-way and concerns for the health, safety, and welfare of the potential users. If this request is denied, neither the playground nor the shade structure can be erected at the subject site. If approved, conditions of approval 3, 8, 9, 10, and 11 should be deleted as they do not apply, and conditions 12 and 13 should be modified as follows. Number 12, a fully operational fire protection system, including fire apparatus, roads, fire hydrants, and water supply, shall be installed and shall be functioning prior to construction of any combustible structures if required. And number 13, all city code requirements and design standards of all city departments must be satisfied, except as modified herein for new construction. Please note there are additional letters of support since publication.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I'm going to abstain on items 22 and 23 or items 23 and 24. My son attends this school, and it is a private school where I pay tuition, so I think out of abundance of caution, I'll abstain on it.
You're paying. They're not comping you.
Yeah, but what I pay every month, we won't get into that.
All right. Okay.
Well, and Chairman, that's the reason for the abstention, I think.
Very good. Okay. Declare the public hearing open now. Anyone in attendance wish to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Commissioners and Director Sam Dunham, 6960 Smoke Ranch Road, here on behalf of the applicant, First Good Shepherd School. I'm going to try to be brief, but I'll give you a little history on this. My daughter also attended this school, so I know this property for many years. The school and the church date back to pre-1955, somewhere around 1951-52, and has been in existence in the inner part of Las Vegas for a very long time. It is a K through 6th grade elementary school along with the church, and recently the church expanded across the alley to the east with a preschool. And over there they have a playground. And after they opened up, it was determined that they did not have enough exterior playground area to support enough of the preschool students that the facility has rooms for. It was determined that they needed about 600 additional square feet of outdoor play area. So the school director allowed them to come over here on the west face of the school building to place a shade structure and a small playground structure. The remaining portion of the property here is utilized. It's multifunctional area during the day. It's where the children have PE activities, and then during church services at night for functions, things like that, it also occupies or is used as parking area. If you take a look at one of the photos in your package, you can see this area that I'm pointing to here is where the kids currently have lunch, and there's about 4 or 5 tables there, and each one of those tables can seat up to about 10 or 12 kids. So during lunchtime, there's quite a significant number of kids that are in that area that we're proposing to put this playground equipment. So I have to disagree with staff that it's going to now put children in harm, because that area is presently used and has been used for going on 40 years for where the kids eat lunch. We plan to go in that area and elevate it above the back of sidewalk. We'll put in a small retaining wall and elevate it 12 to 18 inches above the back of walk. Just putting in a retaining wall and elevating it above the street level will increase the security and safety for the children that are in that area. They now have a positive barrier instead of just the existing chain link fence that resides there now. On top of that retaining wall, we're proposing a wrought iron fence. You can see that the canopy will be a cantilever type structure. There will be playground equipment that will occupy approximately a 6 by 6 footprint and will be no more than 8 feet in height. Because of the right-of-way in this area is 80 feet, but the street is only built out to a very smaller portion. This black line actually represents the limits of the public right-of-way. So you can see that the existing curb and gutter is well within the right-of-way. We propose to have the canopy overhang into some portion of the right-of-way. In staff's analysis, and if you'll excuse me, I'll try to find it real quick, they were not real happy with this proposal overall, and are recommending denial, but they do say that the subject site is located in the Live Work Overlay District and the Las Vegas Redevelopment Plan area. The proposed playground and shade structure would not have a negative impact on the special purpose and overlay districts if approved. So I think in the big picture, staff is saying that what we're proposing is okay, but because we're putting it into public right-of-way, that's where they have some heartburn. I did speak with Public Works on their long-term radar for widening of Maryland Parkway in this area. It is not on the 10-year plan. It is not on the 15-year plan. It's not even on the 20-year plan. So I think in this area where we're going to have an encroachment for these improvements, if and when Public Works decides they're going to widen Maryland Park, we would, of course, remove those facilities at our expense. Try to make it brief. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? If not, I'll declare. Come on, Todd.
Thank you. Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. Sam, good to see you. It's been a long time.
Long time.
Did I hear that they were going to take out some trees?
2 trees.
No. The trees has got to stay. Whatever else, the trees has got to stay. I have no problem with the encroachment. There's a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit along there, and the Gillespie stop is out there daily, so there's no problem there. But also, the Lutheran Church need to look at the vacant property on the back side to the south on that, because there's some, they can go back there. But
Thank
the
you.
trees have to stay.
Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible
Well, Mr.
motion.
Chair, if you want, I can address Mr. Farlow's comments.
Sure, tell us about the trees.
The trees. I'm glad you asked. That tree is a rogue tree. The tree's there. It's even in your package. There was a pretty good picture of it. I happen to have it here. You can see that those palm trees actually encroach within the sidewalk. They are not irrigated by the school. It's one of God's little gifts that they got. And actually, the city of Las Vegas is planning redevelopment in this area of just the sidewalks, and it's on their radar to actually remove those palm trees because they do encroach upon the sidewalk, and it does not provide for complete ADA access along the sidewalk there. There is, as you can see, I actually don't have a good photograph of that. I apologize.
We've got one in our package.
You can go back to the overhead. You can see that the green areas are the existing landscaping areas that are going to remain. So I think we have enough landscaping, even with this 600 square foot area being taken out and those rogue trees being demolished. And the other comment was about acquiring property to the east of this site. Yes, the school recently acquired the apartments there and did build that preschool. They are in negotiations with other properties to the east, but as you know, a facility that's been there for a long time, people know what they have when somebody comes to them trying to expand their facility. So it's been a long and arduous process. I don't expect it to happen overnight, but I do expect sometime in the future that the school will acquire additional property in that area.
Very good. Public hearing is closed, so now we turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
if it may, did you say that the additional playground is required by state and also requires the shade structure, or
It is.
the shade structure is just something you're wanting to provide?
No, both of them are state requirements.
Okay. Seeing as how the block walls already exist, is that correct?
No, the block wall is not existing currently. There's a chain link fence at back of sidewalk for the frontage there. For the frontage of this portion on the overhead, there's an existing chain link fence that's about 4 feet tall.
Okay. I pass by this site quite often, and that fence has been there, and the block wall on the northwest has been there for quite some time as well.
Absolutely.
So to get that part of the school open, I think this is a worthwhile cause.
Appreciate it.
Make your motion, I believe.
Due to the reasons just stated, to get the school open and not seeing that it's exposing the students to any greater risk of noise or dust, I would make a motion to approve.
That's in regard to item number 23, so a motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Okay, and now in regards to item number 24.
In regards to item 24, SDR 42843, I'll make a motion to approve.
And just to clarify for the record, does that include the deletion of the conditions as read into the record by staff?
Yes.
And modification, I should add.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, appreciate your time, and staff, I appreciate the help on working out those conditions.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, these items go forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Very good. Thank you.
We now move to item number 25, which is variance 42988. The applicant owner is Jack W. Zirkle Jr. and Ofra Zirkle for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an existing 6-foot tall, solid corrugated metal screen fence with no contrasting materials or color, where a 5-foot tall fence with a maximum of 2 feet that is solid is allowed on the front yard of a residential property and 20% contrasting materials and/or color is required at 6902 Bradley Road. Staff report, please.
My name is Orpha Zirkle.
Let her go first.
Excuse me? Oh, did you say staff?
Mr. Chairman, the requested variance is to allow an existing unpermitted corrugated metal screen fence with no contrasting materials that is 6 feet tall by 337 feet long to remain. The fence is located at the front property line along Bradley Road and is highly visible from the public right-of-way and from surrounding adjacent properties. The applicant has provided no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance pursuant to Title 1916 that would substantiate the requested variance, and staff recommends denial of this request. If denied, the existing fence would have to be removed. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Now I declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter to approach the microphone. Your name, ma'am?
Okay, I'm Orpha Zirkle. I live at 6902 Bradley Road. This is my picture, and the fence we put up, totally wrong, I guess. We like the fence. It does have two-tone colors. It's block gray partway down until you get to the first gate. Well, good, this is coming from the north, looking towards the south. The darker metal right here is right about where our second gate was hoped to be to match the first gate. So we'll have like a drive-in, drive-out area. I don't see any dangers in the fence. It's the same height as our neighbor's fence, who is their back wall. They need to back out of their property onto the street. We never have any reason to back out of our property. We never have. We're set quite a ways back up off the street, and so we just drive in and drive out. The fence, we just like it. I like the metal. I can't wait till all the rusty metal with rain will eventually all rust in one uniform color. The rest is gray, and we thought that would be nice. We have wooden eaves underneath our shop at the back of the property and underneath our house. The rusty color is actually a brown color that looks good with it. There is there's no reason why we'd have to keep the fence other than we put it up already and we enjoy it. It adds us privacy. It helps block out noise from Bradley, which is constantly getting busier. We have 9 children at the home. Some of them are still quite small, and we let them just run the whole 2 acres. And I enjoy knowing that people can't readily see them from the street, and that's about it.
Thank you. It's a public hearing, so anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter?
Okay. I had a lady come to my house saying that she would not be a public hearing, and she asked if I could turn that in.
Please turn it to the city clerks there, and that'll become part of the permanent record. What does it say that she
She likes the fence. I don't know her. She lives around the corner on Durrell and Jeanette, and she came over with 2 of her little kids and said that she enjoyed it. I turned in a paper already with approval of my neighbors. Neighbors across the street, not in the track home area. I just went to the neighbors across there. The neighbors directly side by side, and some behind us towards Jeanette. So anyway, all over. One lady even stopped at Maverick and asked to sign the paper. She's way up on Maverick. It's kind of northeast of us, but everyone who's seen it like it, and they understand kind of what's going to happen with it. Okay.
So we're just waiting around for it to rust, huh?
Yeah, yes, and it's rained a lot, so it's
Do we
begun.
have to wait? Do we have to wait till it completely rusts before we can take action?
Well, if you want to think about what it would look like when it completely rusts,
I can
you do
imagine.
have at Elkhorn, your butterfly park up on Elkhorn with the soccer fields and the volleyball courts. It's way cool. It has the wrought iron or the rebar that holds in the rock, and the roof is all rust. So it will, for your imagination, it will look like that.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion possible motion.
Just a quick question, ma'am.
Yep.
Over here.
Commissioner?
I know you like it. You love it. But didn't you realize you had to get a permit for it?
Do you know what? I did, and I told my husband, "Oh, can we wait for the permit?" And he is tearing the chain link off. And then he says, come on, you guys, come help fix the fence. And my daughter said, oh, Mom said we need to get a permit. So I'm here doing
So you're
all
blaming
the,
it on Dad,
all the
huh?
absolutely. I would love to have the fence in the first place, but yeah, he's just a get up and go type of guy. Gets it in his head and does it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I
Please.
have a few questions for the applicant. How many kids did you say?
I have 9 and 1 on the way.
9. I hope none of them has to chase a ball over that fence. I'd be
Mhm.
afraid what they would end up looking like.
Well, they wouldn't be able to make it over the fence.
Yeah. You know,
They tend to grow.
Yeah, I have some big ones. They spin Brodies in the yard.
you seem like a
have 'em.
delightful lady, and I'd love to give you good news on my behalf. Let me just go through the reasons that I can't support this tonight. 1, it was installed without permits. 2, there's no contrasting material or color.
Okay, the color, you don't count the gray and the rust?
Yeah,
It's all one
I'm afraid
material,
not.
yes. Oh, but the gates are different.
From a safety
The perforated
standpoint,
metal, you can see through it. Okay, yeah, I
I'm
understand.
not a
I'm
fence
sorry.
expert. I think you may have created a 337-foot metal wind sail with this. That worries me. It's a self-imposed hardship, and you just haven't given me any compelling reason to justify what you've done. And so I'm sorry.
To
but
justify the fence itself?
yes. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we've had some pretty hefty winds. It hasn't budged.
Okay.
It doesn't ripple or wave.
All right. I just wanted, I want to
My-
make a
my
record.
kids
I
are
want you
inside
to
the fence.
understand.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
I do.
Please.
And I appreciate comments, Commissioner Moody. For staff, really, we're only talking about the issue along the frontage, right?
Corrugated metal is a prohibited material within the zoning code. It's not a material that we support.
Did
due to
somebody
the
tell
fact
Commissioner Schlafman
it's-
that?
It's more industrial in nature. And I think, even with Mr. Schlafman, I think we said so at the time his applications came forward regarding corrugated metal, that we didn't necessarily find it our favorite.
And I understand that. I guess I'm one of those people that actually think there is a kind of industrial flavor to it that may not be compatible or meet every. I think it actually could be, if it met the other code issues, it probably could look as good, much better than a chain link fence, which we seem to embrace here. But I do understand that it's difficult to get over, and I'm glad that the neighbor brought, petition of support from
We
her
have
immediate
a
neighbors.
list of them, yeah, in your packet.
But it's still the problem with having it built without a permit. But I think there's some ways to address it rather than throw it out totally. So that's my comments.
You want to jump in?
Well, I'd have to defer to staff to see if there is a way to get there. I mean, I guess the corrugated metal is just not permitted, correct?
Corrugated metal and chain link are permitted if approved as part of a site, as part of this variance. You could approve the variance to approve the corrugated metal. The staff's other concern, of course, on this variance is that this is the front yard of the property, and 6-foot-tall solid walls in the front yard are not conducive to developing the neighborhood feel. The front of your property is to be aesthetically pleasing and part of the neighborhood, and solid 6-foot walls don't do that.
Excuse me, and I understand that, and I live out in this area, and it's that portion of Bradley's got that rural feel to it, and I think we went through this a couple of weeks ago with a canopy out there as well. It's kind of it's kind of a rural feel down there. I don't like to try to find some way to get there.
I will jump in too, and I understand the look you're going for. They've got I think the state has a building on Charleston there in the medical district that has the rusted metal technique. But I really have a difficult time putting a homeowner into a position where the alternative is to tear down an extremely expensive fence that she would have to immediately turn right around and put up again to protect her family. That just, something doesn't sound right there. You know, I would scold you for giving in to your husband. You got to be a stronger woman and tell him no once in a while.
I put my foot down sometimes.
She probably made him do it.
Well, I told him I would really like to have one.
But having said that, I also would have to acknowledge that this areas out there in that part of the valley where they've got those RE homes are a different type of community that we enjoy. And there's lots of things out there, the garages that exceed the size of the home, variances regarding shade structures so they can accommodate the horses, and that's just part of that rural atmosphere the folks moved out there for. You know, it's unfortunate that right across Bradley there is more standard, urban type housing.
Another block wall.
But it's got a block wall that you face. So you face a block wall and they face a corrugated steel wall.
They don't look at it. They can't see over their back walls.
Yeah, I quite frankly understand you've done something inappropriate, but I'm willing to live with a corrective measure to let it stand. I would support it.
Mr. Chair, perhaps rather than the commission trying to come up with an alternative, we could give the applicant a month or two and obey the item to see if she could come back with some type of fix that we could live with. Otherwise, I'm in a position where my motion would be for denial, for the reasons stated.
And your fix would be?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know that I or we have one. The last thing I said to you was you haven't given me a compelling reason to allow you to keep it. Maybe you could come up with one or some modification to it that would make sense. Can I just ask, do you have a track in your yard? Okay, what type of track is that?
It runs everything from Tonka trucks to 430 Honda motorcycles.
Okay. Have you had complaints about that from
We've had
neighbors?
a dust complaint a year or two ago, so we put the faucets out there and spray it and spray it and spray it.
Okay. Does this fence have anything to do with trying to hide that?
No, this fence has to do with middle school kids jumping my fence, teasing my dogs. Someone jumping the fence, the bars that go across of your chain link fence, they're like squashed down. And to let my children run free in their yard.
Okay.
The other thing that I didn't mention that I now would reiterate is the evidence, the compelling evidence in my mind of the neighbors supporting the fence continuing to be there. I give that a lot of weight.
But I think even, at least from my opinion, is I think as much as I support the concept of the fence, I think along the frontage there you have to come up with a design that opens it up so it isn't just for lack of a better description, which I know some people would think, more like a salvage yard fence. So I'd recommend you take the time and come back with some solutions along the front that kind of affect that part of our code, and then see what we can do with the rest.
Just to help to provide the applicant some direction, would anybody's opinion be influenced by the addition of some landscaping, some green material to kind of soften the corrugated steel look that's eventually going to be a beautiful rust? Rust is not a color, it's a condition, unless it's on a Crayola.
Well,
See, that's
Unless you see my daughter's fingernails.
How do you
Crackle
make that?
is in.
How do you make that aesthetic? I mean, do you
Well, they could
cut
do
a
like you do
design?
on walls. You cut a little notch in
cut a
there.
little design into it, and
Like a castle.
you know, and
Sounds
I-
like you're,
Lance
yes,
Person's
exactly.
house.
I don't want to get too well.
I know.
I want to
Sorry.
ask you, if you don't mind, what was the cost of putting that in?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah.
I'll take one.
Labor.
Okay.
Family did it. My family did it. So my sons and my husband. So
Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I built the urban lofts, and so I put on a lot of sheet metal in Las Vegas. And this was one of the issues that I ran into, because in other cities we could use metal fences such as this, and they could be built to withstand 110, 115 mile per hour winds. So as long as it was built correctly, that shouldn't be an issue. But one of the items that we had to do was put wire mesh fences up around the outside of our community, so that might be something that you want to go take a look at.
okay, if you let me know where those are, that'd be great.
Mr. Chair, through you, just perhaps, there have been complaints about the motocross track, the dust, the noise that's coming from it. If you're going to get my support, what I would like to see is at least an abeyance and some type of neighborhood meeting where you can bring them together, and I'd like to be there to see what type of support you have for this and what type of opposition you might have. And then if there's any middle ground, if there's somewhere you can meet to come up with something that would make everybody happy and make this commission happy. So if you would, my recommendation would be to take 30 or 60 days, go have your neighborhood meeting and see what you can work out, and then come back in front of us. Is that something you'd like to do or try?
Try it.
Okay.
Okay, you want to
So,
turn that into a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my motion will be for, let's make it a 60-day abeyance, if that's okay.
Okay, motion has been made. Given the opportunity, we cast our vote. There we go. Cast your votes, please. This is on the abeyance of the item for 60 days. Motion carries.
Yeah, that
Good
would
luck
be to
and-
the December 13th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. See you in a couple of months. Next item up is item 26, special use permit 42253. The applicant is CEZ Mini Mart, owner is My Charleston Plaza LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed beer, wine, cooler off-sale establishment within an existing 2,000 square foot convenience store at 5100 West Charleston Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed use will be operated in conjunction with an existing convenience store, complies with all Title 1912 requirements, and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing surrounding development and land uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request with conditions. Please note that there are additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on the matter to approach the mic and give their name for the record and state their case. Ma'am?
Cecilia Vitamio, 5100 West Charleston.
And what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get a beer license, but said I need to get a special use permit for this one.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
There was only one item, and I don't know if it was a condition, but it was mentioned about the razor wire and removing razor wire. Is that a condition, or was that just a code violation at one point, or what?
Through you, Mr. Chairman,
Please.
that is a condition of approval for this special use permit, is the removal of the razor wire.
Okay. You understand that? Yeah. Okay. Ready for a motion? Somebody? Everybody's all talked out after that first couple hours.
I have one. I just have a question on your justification letter. It says we also need to get a beer license is absolutely required to run a successful business. You believe that?
I don't think that the convenience store is not gonna, because we don't make enough money, not even pay the rent, because a lot of customers asking for beer, and the location is not really busy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you.
Subject to
Motion
all
has been made.
conditions.
I'm sorry. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
And this item will go forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Thank you.
We now can move on to item number 29, which is special use permit 43009. The applicant owner is Michael Degland for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 3,744 square foot urban lounge with 4,466 square feet of outdoor seating at 109 South Main Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, I own an urban lounge within 2 blocks from this location, so I'll be abstaining on this matter.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed use complies with Title 19 requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is compatible and harmonious with the existing and surrounding development and land uses. As such, staff recommends approval. Please note we have received additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Now declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter to please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Ignacio Gonzalez. I'm the architect on the job. I'm at 2516 Oceanfront Drive here in Las Vegas, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the project.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter?
My name is Mike Peterman, 200 Hoover Avenue, Newport Lofts. The only comment, because it's requesting outdoor seating, I'm assuming there's going to be music requested. And the only thing we have a concern is how late they want to have the music. Just want to have conditions on what time the music can play until. It's not even so much if it's just going to be jazz all night, that's fine. But as we've had over at the Bar and Bistro, whenever they have some reverb going on, the whole building can feel it. And we're generally okay till 12, midnight. But there's been a couple times where it's gone past, midnight, even during the week. And it's not that the building shakes, but the reverb, you can just feel it. So we just want to have some type of condition as far as what time it's going to play until. They're not going to have a big bass, no problem.
Okay.
But so that's about it.
Some nice quiet jazz, perhaps? Or what else?
That'd be awesome.
Well, I don't know how you quantify that, but certainly we can agree to something that makes sense about it.
What is your proposal and a midnight curfew, or when is the city ordinances on noise in this area?
This site is located in the Las Vegas Arc District, which the City Council recently adopted a text amendment to allow the noise ordinance to be suspended to 12 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and then on Friday and Saturday it's suspended till 2 a.m.
Was that just normally, or was that for special
Some
events?
satisfaction?
Was that
Pardon
on a
me?
regular basis, or is that for special events?
It's continuing basis.
I said I'd only comment, again, the type of music they're going to play is one thing. If it's going to be, but if they're going to have heavy metal with the reverb going on, then I said that's how it affects the neighborhood, because we can hear it. I don't care about the sound of the music, but it's just, when you feel the vibration, you can feel it throughout the whole building. So that's my only concern.
No heavy metal. The owner says no heavy metal.
No heavy metal? How about rap?
I don't think
keep
so
going.
either.
All right.
You're asking the wrong person.
Okay. All right. Anyone else in attendance?
Yes, thank
Mr.
you.
Farley?
Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. I concur with the previous speaker. And basically, it's not really the melody. It's that terrible, god-awful bass sometimes. And I can hear that clear down on 19th Street. Sometimes it shakes my windows. It's that bad. The other thing is, I would like the speaker to tell me exactly what is an urban lounge. I mean, what we need down there is well, Commissioner Slotman raised the bar down there. We need some place not only that sells alcohol, but also juices and coffee and stuff like that, and maybe hangs art on the wall for sale because it's in the art district, but something to go along with the arts district. That's what I'm looking for.
Thank you. I think we'll ask staff to define an urban lounge for us. Give them a second to think about it. Anybody else wish to speak on the matter? Come on up, sir.
Yes, my name is Marcus Cruz. I'm at 1221 South Main. We have 11 properties directly across the street from Pamela and her group. We're in full support of them coming into the neighborhood. We're well aware of their business plan, support it wholeheartedly. They are going to put art up on the walls just to kind of cater to the arts district. In regards to the sound, we have realized that Charleston is somewhat of a barrier to sound, that they might not get at the Bristow, but we don't think it's going to be a problem. Actually, it's going to complement the neighborhood. We're looking forward to it and would very much support the action.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? And I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask the staff, what is the definition of an urban lounge that makes it different than say?
An urban lounge is defined as a lounge in which the seating is 2 to 1. For every bar stool at the bar, you must have 2 seats in the lounge area.
Staff might also add that this use was created specifically for the Arts District, and it's a use that we encourage through our Downtown Centennial Plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the public hearing is closed, so now I can turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
So I guess in terms of the music, Doug, Mr. Rankin, it's till Thursday at midnight, and then on Friday till 2 a.m.
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday till 2 a.m.
That is the current ordinance as adopted by council. As a matter of fact, the Planning Commission will be considering an amendment to the Downtown Centennial Plan later tonight regarding that to bring the Downtown Centennial Plan into conformance with the new noise ordinance as adopted by council.
Mr. Chairman, real quick though, let's keep in mind that this is a special use permit. Yes, we've got our noise ordinance, but you have the discretion to decide what is appropriate at this location.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before could he put up the picture of what the after thing is going to look like?
Put you on it.
You have a beautiful picture there.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I think we're ready for a motion. Maybe the vice chair would jump in and
Yeah, you know me, and nothing wrong with a little bass in the place. I may sing before it's over tonight. I'll go ahead and follow staff's recommendation on item 29 for approval. I think the noise ordinance, is appropriate, 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday and 12 during the weekday. Just make sure you incorporate a little jazz in there so the gentleman here can rest easy at night. With that said, subject to all staff recommendations, approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item goes before City Council on November the 16th.
Thank you. Thank you.
We now move to item number 30. 31. What the hell happened to 30? Oh, that's right. Okay, 31, special use permit 43017. The applicant owner is Mesquite Wood, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed 3,375 square foot urban lounge with 6,900 square feet of outdoor seating and event area, and a corresponding request for an encroachment into the Main Street public right-of-way at 1218 and 1226 South Main Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll need to abstain on this item due to owning the urban lounge within the area.
And Mr. Chairman, I will be abstaining because I own property within the notice area.
Okay, we're This
But
is
you like
special.
base, right, Commissioner Truesdale?
We're okay, right? We got the right number? We need 4 votes, okay. Okay, it's open. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed entitlement will include the 6,900 square foot parking lot that will be utilized as a flexible hosting space and parking depending on when outdoor events are needed. Staff finds that the proposed use complies with all Title 19 requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing and surrounding development and land uses, and recommends approval. Please note we received additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Sir?
Good evening. Wes Isbut, 107 East Charleston. I would like to make a correction. This is Mesquitewood 2 LLC that is requesting this, not Mesquitewood LLC. There is a difference, and the application did have the number 2 in there, which is very important
Time out.
to this.
Mr. Director, is this going to the City Council?
Yes, this item will go to City Council.
Well, I think that it's a minor error that could be corrected on its way to the City Council. Let's just place a note on this, if we could, Mr. Director.
Certainly, and the clerk will follow through.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, proceed.
I'm extremely excited. I mean, this is a part of town that I've had a lot of passion for a lot of years. I think this is the perfect project for this portion of this street on Main Street. I think it's going to bring some life and some energy. It's a game changer to this particular block in that area. The picture that we're showing here is a rendering of an exterior. What's a little deceptive about it is the entire facade opens up beautifully, as you see here. There are windows that wood facade keys into, and the windows open up like an eyelash would and expose the interior. We're looking for an indoor-outdoor type environment to Main Street, and then on the parking/event area on the side will be open indoor-outdoor. So we're really trying to invite the street in and to show the street out. It's the perfect project for the area. I would like to introduce Christina and Pamela Dilag, the proprietors of the Velveteen Rabbit. And we ask for your approval.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Pamela Dilag. Me and my sister are partners for this proposed urban lounge in the Arts District. We propose Velvet Rabbit. We will host a variety of music as well as crafted cocktails and 12 beers on tap. And we initially wanted to open a bar, and we were actually looking at other cities, specifically Portland, Oregon, because there's an established art community there. However, because of the urban lounge license and because of the bustling arts district in Las Vegas, we decided this is our home. This is where we want our business to be. And so we ask the commissioners to please grant approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to attend? You would like to say a little bit, please?
Christina Dilag. Good evening. We really want to provide a space that caters to the locals. A lot of the bars in Las Vegas cater to tourism, and we feel like that the bar that we're trying to offer is not necessarily in existence, or very few are. And so with our bar, we'll be hosting a variety of different events, including local music, local art, spoken word, poetry, and we're really open-minded to any sorts of activities that people would propose to us. So we're really excited about it.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on the matter? Sir.
Marcus Cruzen, 1221 South Main. Kind of got them confused. We're in support of both of the businesses, but I got them mixed up. We're directly across the street from these guys also. Very well aware of their plans to add to the neighborhood. They have a really good dynamic going on with their team that they have. Their business plan seems to be solid, and we've asked everybody up and down Main Street, and there's full support from St. Louis all the way to Charleston that we know of for sure. And again, I don't think a sound ordinance will be a problem because, you know, the barrier with Charleston, there's so much noise right there, it seems to slow the noise that we have in that area down.
Just watch the loud poets.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Mr. Farlow, your thoughts on the matter?
Yes, thank you. All for it. But one thing about the urban lounge, it should be more than just liquor. I mean, look at me. I have money. Feed me. You know, make a sandwich, chocolate, shakes, pies, cake, something, you know. I'll come down, display the art. I'll sit there and eat while I look at that. But, you know, something besides just booze. Thank you.
There.
With all due
A
respect.
potential customer wants something to eat. Heavy snacks.
Yes,
There
snacks
you
will
go.
be provided.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Somebody jump in there.
Mr. Chairman, seeing none, I'll follow staff's recommendation for approval of item 31, subject to all recommendations.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Post.
Y'all gonna have a commissioner night down there one night, so we
Yeah.
get out of here
We
about.
like these.
If we get out of here about
Tuesdays.
We get out of here about 1 a.m. We can rip these ties off and
Yeah. Get wild.
we'll get down there and do a dance called the Ordinance.
Anyway, welcome to Las Vegas, and thank you for your favorable
thank
comments
you.
and faith in the Arts District.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
support you. Thank
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, this item goes forward to City Council on November the 16th with the correction to the name of the owner.
Thank you very much.
We now move to item number 32, special use permit 43087. The applicant is Dolgen Midwest LLC. The owner is GLK Holdings 4 Bruce LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a 70-square-foot accessory packaged liquor off sale within a proposed 17,071 square foot general retail store at 5991 West Cheyenne Avenue. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed use can be conducted in a harmonious and compatible manner with the existing retail establishment and the adjacent commercial and residential uses, and staff recommends approval. Please note we have received an additional protest and a letter of support since publication.
Thank you. I declare the public hearing open now and turn it over, or getting goofy, and invite anyone in attendance that wish to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Sir?
It is getting late. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Ed Garcia, 3773 Howard Hughes Parkway, here on behalf of the applicant and Dolgen Midwest. This is a use permit application for a accessory packaged liquor off-sale license. This is the Dollar General market, which is going in at 5991 Cheyenne. This was previously a Rite Aid. For about the last, really this is kind of a reinstatement of an alcohol use. There was when it was a Rite Aid, this was approved in 1998, I believe, for alcohol sales, and that went out of business and they ceased operations there in 08. But they did have packaged liquor sales approved at this location. Once again, this is Dollar General Corporation moving into this location. This is the first of what we hope will be several in the city of Las Vegas. I don't know if you're familiar with Dollar General, but they are one of the few stores that are expanding in this economic climate. Over 2,000 stores nationwide, none located in Nevada up until just recently. This is the third store in the Las Vegas Valley. The two previous ones recently opened about 3 weeks ago, one up on Rainbow in the county, and we just opened, there's one scheduled to open in the next couple days on Flamingo, and that is also in the county. So several more planned, slated for the county, and one up in North Las Vegas, but I'm sure we'll be seeing you again to see these stores. These are market stores. Don't let the name fool you. Dollar General, Dollar just happens to be in their name. You get that a lot, that they're somehow affiliated with a dollar store. They are a value store, but they are a grocery market, much more a neighborhood grocery market, probably in the line of kind of a fresh and easy, except less packaged items for sale, more what you would typically find in a small neighborhood market. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and would respectfully request your approval.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain on this item in as much as I own an interest in a property directly across the street. So.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, seeing none, I make approval. I think it's much needed in the area. You have a big senior community, Mr. George Kakis' community there, and I hope those people actually can walk now up the sidewalk instead of crossing the street, and they're seniors, so that makes it convenient for them as well. With that being said, I'll move for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and condition.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
We now move to item number 33, which is site development review 43012. The applicant is Nissan Crogeroli, owner Fremont Place LLC, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a temporary parking lot with waivers of the downtown Centennial Plan streetscape standards at 208 North Las Vegas Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed development is for a temporary commercial parking lot with an entitlement limited to 36 months of operation at the applicant's request. The downtown Centennial Plan allows temporary parking lots for up to a maximum of 36 months. Waivers of the downtown Centennial Plan streetscape requirements for an amenity zone and a 10-foot sidewalk have been requested. The subject site is prominently located on Las Vegas Boulevard, 1 block north of the Fremont Street Experience and the Fremont East Entertainment District, and is within the Scenic Byway Overlay District. While additional parking in this area is desirable, the lack of required streetscape amenities designed to enhance the pedestrian experience and to provide a consistent, aesthetically appealing environment in the downtown area cannot be supported by staff, and denial is recommended. If denied, the site will remain as it is.
Thank you. Declare the public hearing open now and invite anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record and state your case.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Ray Coragli, 228 Las Vegas Boulevard North, with one of the manager of Fremont Prince LLC. And we respectfully request the approval for this item for the mere reason that the City of Las Vegas, as we all know, in a short supply for the parking, especially on the weekend. And we know what happened just not too long ago, towing the cars from patrons coming downtown. This site has been sitting vacant since we own it 2002. And even though if it's fenced, still we believe it's eyesore, and we like to improve it, turn it to a temporary parking till such time comes when the economy turns around and whatever the project that would fit the site.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter?
Thank you, Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Excuse me. Along Las Vegas Boulevard there, regardless of what happens in the future, the trees will have to go in. So why don't we put the trees in now, which will give them a 3-year head start for whatever goes in when the economy turns around. But at least we'll get a good start and we'll get the trees in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion. I would have a question. This is for a 36-month maximum period. Are there provisions in there to extend the temporary parking?
Mr. Chairman, at the end of that 3-year period, they could request an extension of time for that entitlement.
Very good. Thank you.
So that means there's nothing more permanent than a temporary parking lot.
There you go.
And so while it's there, because this is an area that's now in the transition, and it's transitioning for the better. I think you just saw a good example of these urban lounges that are coming in, and you see that they complied to everything and even went beyond. But if you're going to put a parking lot here, and with the streetscape and the byways and your proximity to the Fremont Street experience, this has to be a pristine path for pedestrians to walk to. And so I'd like to know, what is your reason for not wanting to comply with putting in a full landscaping plan? Because here's what happens. At the end of 3 years, you have the option to come in and say, I want to continue with the parking, especially if your lot's going to be full all the time. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. I can't read into the future, but why are you so adamant about not putting the full landscaping in here?
Well, for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is the downturn economy and the financial burden of it, as far as spending all that money for what's been required for the palm trees, and those are runs in 20 or 30,000 a piece. It's not like we are not.
I'm sorry, how much are your palm trees going to cost you?
I mean, from what I know, I believe
80,000 a piece?
No.
20 to 30,000.
They're about 10,000 a piece. They're 50 footers. They are
50 footers.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
requiring you to put in 50 footers?
They're what the requirement was when they told us that.
Mr. Rankin, could you tell us what that
this
landscaping plan requires?
Somebody's giving you a story, yeah.
Let me jump in if
Please.
I might while Mr. Rankin is looking. For the palm trees that are required by the Downtown Centennial Plan, I believe it's a 25-foot brown
25
trunk.
foot, yeah.
Not
And they're about 10,000 a piece. I priced them. And to extend the sidewalk from what it is to a 10-foot sidewalk. And keep in mind what he is going to spend on-site, providing the lighting, the asphalt, the on-site landscaping is a couple of $100,000.
So what are you going to charge to park?
I don't know. I'm just a builder.
Well, whatever the area calls for, whatever the other competitors are, and we probably got to be cheaper, less expensive. We haven't decided on the price yet.
Mr. Chairman.
And you're going to invest $200,000 and you haven't decided what your price are going to be?
Well, I'm sure.
I am available for business consulting.
No problem.
Jeez.
No, truly, we haven't
If you're
gone
going
to
to pay
that to see.
$80,000 for a tree, I'm definitely available.
Okay.
Okay? No, I'm kidding. I'm not available.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
I think the lot looks a lot better than, well, once you make the improvements, it'll look a lot better than it currently, the way it currently exists. However, one of the problems I see with this is, I'm not sure how wide that sidewalk is, but let's say it's
5 feet.
It's 5 feet?
Yes, sir.
So when you go back with the Centennial Plan, you'll have to put in a 10-foot wide sidewalk with a 5-foot amenity zone. That's 15 feet. It's going to take up all those parking spaces. So all the money that you're putting into this, within 3 years, if we require the Centennial standards, you're pretty much wasting your money. You're going to lose that whole row of parking.
Well, that's why we're asking for the waiver.
But I don't think the waiver will be extended past 3 years. Is that correct?
Well, we are not going to, well, hopefully, by then, the economy has turned around, and this expensive piece of property on Las Vegas Boulevard, and from what is going on now with Zappos coming, so hopefully, we're hoping that another project, either multifamily or, combination of residential and commercial in a bottom, that would be for the site. Obviously, that's not going to be, seen as a parking lot, especially only just on one story or just flat. Unless you want to go 10, 15 story as a parking structure to make that kind of money, then yes, that would be on a permanent basis. But for the time being, for only 36 months or 3 years till Zappos gets in, which is, I believe, they're going to be done by 2014 or 2015. So hopefully by then, once they moving in, and with the project that they have right across the street to put the complex, then we will have a better feel of what type of a project will be viable on that site. And don't forget, they also own the car wash and gas station, the Automall, adjacent to it. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
For the applicant, I understand what you're trying to do and create a parking and create revenue and that. The problem I have with what you're presenting is we have another parking lot just south of there that they built in properly, and we've gone through problem after problem. And again, it's that quote temporary, and it doesn't matter how temporary it's going to be. We still owe it to the downtown. If we're committed to making the downtown the destination of the places, not to waive all of these standards. I mean, if you told me you didn't want to put in, the 10-foot sidewalk now, but you put 5 feet in additional landscaping, now you're talking about at least some improvement that adds for the enhancement of that area. But just to waive all the conditions, if you're making money and 3 years comes along, we're stuck for a 20-year parking lot. I mean, in every major city, once you build a parking lot like this, as the success of the community, most developers, and you know this, you look at your monthly income and you go, God, I'm making this much and I don't have to do anything, or I have to tear it out and put a major investment and I make incrementally just a little bit more. So until there's a major density required on here, this parking lot will be here, and we'll hear every argument under the sun, and we won't get any improvements. And that's really the concern that I have. I know that doing some of the improvements or planning for the improvements costs a little more money, but there's a commitment to the downtown, and that's what I think the property owners need to do. Because if we let you waive this now, then there'll be 20 arguments by the time you come in with a building saying, well, we already got this waiver. It may not be you, maybe some of you sell the property too. Say, let me build up to here, and I really don't want to do any of this because I can't afford it, because my lender won't give it to me. There's always a reason not to improve the property. We need to be committed to our downtown plan, and there's a balancing of what we allow to be waived and what we require to get the uses to do that. Because from a land use plan, we only get one real bite at this up here. And when we waive everything, I can tell you, I've been in this town long enough that nobody comes back in later and says, geez, I got it waived and everything's good, and now I want to put it all in and spend more. It's just, I want to put something less than the standard because you already gave it to me once. That's the problem I have here.
Well, we appreciate your concern and explaining, but with all due respect, this site is only 33,000 square feet, and the maximum space, parking spot we're going to put on there is 75, so I don't think we're going to get rich on it. And as I mentioned before, it's not like we're going to just put asphalt and there is no landscaping. Obviously, there is going to be, and there are, on a site plan, that there are some landscaping, but not to the extent as far as putting a 25-foot tree, a palm tree. So that's what we're talking about. So the size of it and the type of the landscaping they're going to put for the temporary.
But we're requiring everybody else to put everything in full down on Fremont Street, and so I think it would be disingenuous to just let this one slide. I mean, it's like the commissioner said, we get one bite at this apple, and quite honestly, I think it's time to hold the business owners to the higher standard so that we can get the end result that we have with this plan for the downtown area.
Well, once we're ready for the permanent project, absolutely, we got to do all the requirements and what necessary to get the project done. But for the temporary and spending hundreds of $1,000, then after 3 years that you're going to take it all up, it's just it would be a waste of money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got 5-gallon shrubs on here. Come on now. So,
we can go to 10-gallon.
All right, you're going from $5 to $12, huh?
I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, and I need to make a comment also, and that is that we required the standards on Las Vegas Boulevard and Carson with that parking lot there. And for us to say, well, we're going to make those people comply, but we're going to let this gentleman not comply, we'll grant waivers, is just unfair. You know, you wouldn't like it if it was the other way around, I'm sure. So if you were to come forward and say, I want to have the same conditions that the parking lot at Carson and Las Vegas Boulevard lived with, then I would support you.
Well, I will check into it to see exactly what they have, because I haven't.
Yeah, they had to comply. So, okay, I've stated my case. Go.
Mr. Chairman, item 33, move to follow staff's recommendation for denial of SDR 43012.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Thank you. The motion carries. Check and see what those people did down there, and if you come back saying we'll do the same thing, then you might have a different result.
Is this going to November?
Mr. Chairman, this item does go to City Council on November the 16th.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Okay. We now move to item number 34, which is Site Development Review 43016. The applicant is Trader Joe's. The owner is Parkway Retail Center, LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment to a site development plan review for a 730 square foot service and loading area addition to an existing retail establishment at 7575 West Washington Street, Suite 117. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this request is to add a walled enclosure to provide screening for service and loading area associated with an existing grocery store. The service and loading area is located at the front of the building, as there is no access to the rear of the building where such facilities are normally located, and the main entrance to the building is from the west side. The applicant has designed the walled enclosure to closely match the existing building in materials and colors, and it will screen service activities that are currently being conducted at this location that are necessary for the business to function. Staff is recommending approval of the request as the proposed structure will be compatible with existing structures on site and with development in the surrounding area. If denied, the site will remain as it is. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Sir?
Hello, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. My name is Keith Green. I'm the architect for Trader Joe's. We do accept the staff's recommendations and conditions for approval.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Anyone have any concerns? I think we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to follow staff's recommendations for approval.
Subject to all conditions?
Yes.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, this item goes forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Next item up is item 35, Site Development Review 43021. Site Development Plan Review, public hearing. The applicant is Walmart Stores, Inc. The owner is WRI Charleston Commons, LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment to a proposed plot plan review for a proposed 14,000 square foot expansion to an existing 118,000 square foot general retail store other than listed on 10.51 acres at 201 North Nellis Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, before you start, I'll have to abstain on this matter. My law firm at one time had Walmart as a client, so out of an abundance of caution, I'll be abstaining.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this request is to expand an existing retail store by enclosing the front entrance area, constructing a new addition on the west side of the existing building, and providing an additional service loading dock at the east side of the existing building. The applicant is proposing to install 61 additional 24-inch box trees in the existing parking lot and to restripe all the parking aisles to allow for two-way access aisles and 90-degree parking spaces. Although the additions comply with the requirements of Title 19, and the addition of parking lot landscaping is beneficial to the site and to the surrounding area. There is a safety issue involved due to the lack of safe, adequate access to and from the site for delivery trucks utilizing the proposed loading dock, and staff is recommending denial. If denied, the site will remain as it is. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give their name for the record and state their case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Larson, 300 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. You can tell from the elevations, or the photographs that are currently flashing on the overhead, that this currently is sort of a blue, sort of generic Walmart design. What we're proposing to do is enclose, if I can cut to the overhead, enclose what is currently a sort of a recessed entrance area, and that'll be the majority of the expansion. In addition to that, as staff said, the entire parking lot will be redone, including the addition of 61 additional trees within the parking lot and 8 additional trees along the Nellis frontage. In addition to that, the parking lot will be restriped to provide two-way access instead of one-way lanes with 90-degree parking as opposed to the slanted parking. I believe you can read between the lines on staff's report and indicate that staff is very satisfied with the materials, very satisfied with the design, and there's one issue that remains unresolved. And if I could get the engineer to zoom. There we go. And the issue is the addition of an additional loading dock on the eastern side. To exit from that, it would be necessary to do this sort of a maneuver. Staff's concern is that a truck exiting that particular driveway would cause backup of traffic, and that would be the safety concern they had. Staff has carefully drafted, if approved, conditions, including condition number 15, that would address that, and that would require Walmart to dedicate a right-of-way and contribute $50,000 for a deceleration lane and a bus turnout at that entrance, or actually design and build the deceleration lane and bus turnout. So if I can draw my own drawing here, essentially the turnout lane would be like this. So any traffic stopped by a truck exiting would be stored, would be stacked in that bus turnout deceleration lane, and that would alleviate the safety concern that staff has. Beyond that, it's a very nice design. I do have samples of the actual materials. You can see it's a very warm color, using natural materials and very Southwest compatible palette of colors. It's quite a upgrade and renovation to the site, and will result not only in renovation of the building itself, but as said before, of the parking lot, making it more aesthetic and just a very nice addition to the center. And I think with the addition of, if approved, condition number 15, I think the safety issue is also addressed. So we would ask you to approve it as submitted with the addition of those conditions which we intend to comply with.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter?
Thank you, Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. This is terrific. One of the great problems now is what he's talking about, that bus turnout. Right now they have to park in front of Papa John's, which is, he didn't show that on there, but it's further to the north on that. And there's really a problem with that. And with that turnout, it's certainly making it a lot better. The only, it says here is 14,000 additional square feet. I don't know where in the world they're going to get where that 14,000 is. I know that there's a little recess right now where the front is, but it doesn't look like 14,000. But still, this is great. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and have a couple of questions. Where does is there a current footprint and a proposed footprint?
There is, and in fact, I apologize, I don't have a better
I appreciate
drawing.
the color palettes. We would assume you would,
If I
Do
get
it like
engineer to-
it's currently there.
If I could get engineer to zoom in again. The shaded areas are the additions. This part here and here is the area that is currently a recessed entranceway. That'll be built over with a roof, as well as brought out a little bit. The additional area on the west side will also be added to, but it won't be visible from the street or really affect any of the uses of the site, since that it abuts the flood channel on that side. So for all intents and purposes, the only real aesthetic change that anyone will see is the entrance area.
Okay. And my other question is, you drew on your own drawing there, but did you cross to install the deceleration lane? Did you eliminate a bunch of parking spaces there?
I anticipated that question. Currently, there are 666 spaces exclusive of handicap parking that are provided, where only 534 are required. So we have an excess of 132 surplus parking spaces. There's only 32 spaces that would be eliminated here if we took out every parking space along that Nellis frontage. So that would still leave us with approximately 100 extra parking spaces. So we have sufficient parking.
Even with the additional 14,000 square feet?
Excuse me?
Even with the additional 14,000, you're still
Yes, Chairman.
over? Oh, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
What's the reason for moving the loading dock, or are you just adding an additional loading dock?
We're adding an additional loading dock. We've discussed possible, unlike a lot of retail centers like this, grocery stores or retail, we don't rely upon a lot of independent vendors to provide the equipment and retail merchandise that's going to be sold here. Walmart essentially has its own trucking company to provide this. What we anticipate that new loading dock would be used for would be smaller trucks, local vendors such as baked goods, that sort of thing. So if necessary, we could even impose a hourly restriction on large trucks using that side. But we don't anticipate anything over 50 feet. You know, the large semis that one contemplates being used for a loading dock to be using that side.
Have you looked into installing the other loading dock on the rear and possibly moving that trash compactor? That way you wouldn't have to build this deceleration lane. I think staff's main reason was taking a left turn before taking a right turn. Would that alleviate any of those concerns?
Well, I do have the architect here and might be able to answer that question. Not being a designer or an architect, I don't know the answer. And for the record, it's Charles Jordan, who is the architect of the site.
My name is Charles Jordan. I represent Shade O'Quinn Architects, 201 Record Street, Dallas, Texas. The reason why we don't have the dock on the back is right now that's where our sewer entry is, and there's some other issues with the trucks maneuvering around. Generally, what we have is we have a dock that's for general merchandise, which will be the existing dock, and a dock for the new grocery portion, which is inside the existing building. And that's what the new dock's for, is the new grocery portion.
And Mr. Chairman, one last question.
Please.
If y'all are paying $50,000, who's paying the rest to build the deceleration lane?
If I may, Public
Please.
Works, the city, Public Works is willing to pick up the other half. We give them the alternative, though, if they can construct it for less than the city's cost, they can do the complete construction. Otherwise, they would split the city's cost, which is currently about $100,000.
In addition to that, we'd be dedicating the right-of-way.
Okay.
If I may also, the reason for that is it would function as a bus turnout. Currently, there is a bus that stops in a travel lane just north of this driveway, and it would facilitate clearing that travel lane, which the city considers a good thing.
But would the bus end up restricting the traffic in the deceleration lane from coming into the site?
This is a standard bus design. It's standard drawing 234.4, I believe now. It's a standard design used in many cases on commercial sites.
Thank you.
Commissioner Truesdale?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if there are no other comments, I prepared to make a motion.
Please.
I'd make a motion for approval, subject to staff's as if approved conditions, which I believe include the turnout as described by Public Works.
That's correct.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. And that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
And this item will go forward to City Council on November the 16th.
Okay. We now can move to item number 36, which is Director's Report 41972. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's for possible action on a request regarding the adoption of the Sahara West Walkable Community Plan.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, back in March of 2009, we presented an item to you at the Joint Planning Commission City Council workshop relative to the development of walkable community plans, and I'm proud to present the first walkable community plan that we have developed. This is for the Sahara West area, which is centered around the intersection of Sahara and Fort Apache. In terms of walkable community planning, what we look for is residential areas that are in close proximity to commercial areas, and then providing opportunities for residents who live within those areas to easily and safely walk or bike to the necessities of daily life. We have originally identified 6 of those potential areas to work on, and again, this is the first one that we have ready to go forward before you. In terms of the public input process, we started off with a neighborhood meeting back in August of 2009, and then followed up with a series of meetings with individual neighborhood associations within the plan area over the course of 2010. We then had additional open houses in July and August of 2011 once we had a draft plan available and were able to take input from residents within the plan area at that time. And then we also made available the opportunity to comment on the draft plan via the city's website. In terms of the plan itself, it covers the existing conditions in the area. It also contains an implementation section describing improvements that could be made in terms of adding sidewalks, adding crosswalks, adding lighting, additional landscaping, and bicycle lanes where those facilities are not currently provided. In addition, just one comment, this is kind of an unusual area in that many people consider this to be a very suburban area. But one of the unique things about it is that it does provide the daily necessities such as a grocery store, bank, dry cleaner, restaurants, those types of services within close proximity to residential areas. Most of these neighborhoods already have adequate trails and things like that. And so it's just the addition of some additional sidewalks, some additional crosswalks that will really help to make this neighborhood function. We took into consideration the comments that we received from the public. At our input meetings in July and August, we've made some modifications to the draft plan based on those comments. We would seek your support of this plan, and we would be taking this to City Council for ultimately their approval. If the plan is approved by City Council, we then begin to look for funding opportunities to implement the recommendations in the plan itself. And there's a variety of options to do that, either through federal grants, piggybacking these items on other capital projects that we have planned, or else looking for any NDOT or RTC funding that would be available. And again, we would request your approval of this plan.
Thank you. We need to have a public hearing on this one?
Yes, we would appreciate that.
I'd like to open a public hearing. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
For the director,
please.
In the comments and as we go through here, did it address the pedestrian crossing there at like Sahara and Fort Apache? I mean, it seems like there's an inordinate amount without safe zones. That's important to describe.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was one of the concerns that was brought to us by neighborhood residents, is specifically the pedestrian crossing there at Sahara and Fort Apache. Obviously, because of the high amount of traffic on those streets, pedestrians don't feel safe in doing that. And so in terms of the recommendations, we have some language in there relative to looking at the timing of the signals and other improvements that we might be able to make in order to make pedestrians feel safer at those crossings.
Any other comments?
If there are no other comments, do we need an approval on this?
Yes.
I'd move to follow staff's recommendations and approve this. I think the walkable community, at least this first plan before us, shows a lot of opportunities to improve neighborhoods before we have to rebuild neighborhoods. So.
Very good. A motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries. We can now move to item number 39, which is a text amendment 43042. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's for possible action to amend the Downtown Centennial Plan to revise the hours of temporary outdoor commercial events on Fridays and Saturdays to 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. within the 18B Arts District. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this amendment would bring the Downtown Centennial Plan in conformance with the recently adopted ordinance by the City Council regarding the noise restrictions within the 18B Arts District. The Downtown Centennial Plan already allows temporary outdoor commercial events by right. There's no need to get a temporary commercial permit in this area. There are a list of conditions to do that, and one of those conditions is hours of operation of the event, and this would add 2 hours onto those events for Fridays and Saturdays.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open now. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. State your case.
Yeah, Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street, and again, it's that base.
I think I don't know if we can control the content, although I'd like to. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Hearing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I need to make a disclosure. I do own property within the what is classified as 18B, and but this ordinance is not going to affect my property any greater or any less than anyone else's, so I feel comfortable in voting on this item. But that being said, there's a problem with these noise ordinances, and not that noise is a problem, not that we're not creating great entertainment zones. It's just every residential unit that we encourage to be here is somebody who's not going to be happy with noise at some point in time. So it's a very difficult time. I think at least by putting some hours on this, we at least tell people what the expectations are. But this will always be an issue in these growing areas. I've seen major cities where people they've done everything to create the most successful districts of entertainment, and you've got a whole bunch of people saying, well, we don't like the noise. Well, you want a vibrant economy, or you have to deal with the noise. But people that live there want their rights. I think this is an appropriate way, and I will support this. What I would like to know, as I would like some information, is 18B. We always talk about 18B, and it's supposedly an association. But I have yet to find anybody to contact with this, quote, association, and how they reach out to the stakeholders within the neighborhood, and who really is in charge of 18B and what is recommended in approval. And we get a lot of stuff before us, and it's always, well, 18B is behind this. Well, I gotta tell you, I've never gotten a notice from 18B except when the Arts District was first talked about being created. So I really would like the city to tell me who's part of the association and how that association is tasked with communicating with stakeholders within the community.
Chairman.
Please.
I need to make that same disclosure on a business in the 18B Arts District. However, I don't feel this will affect me any greater or lesser than any other property owner in the 18B Arts District, so I will be voting on this matter.
Thank you. So I guess we have the one question as to who is 18B, and I would have a question: does this in any way impact the East Fremont Street area?
I'll answer the first part. It doesn't impact the East Fremont. East Fremont has its own noise ordinance provision, and this is separate. And as far as the members of the 18B, our district task force, I can certainly share those with Commissioner Truesdale and the rest of the Planning Commission at a later time. I don't know them all by name off the top of my head.
It's not a secret society, though, huh?
No, it's not a secret society.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Sir?
I just have to say I'll be going against Mr. Farlow's recommendation and with my fellow commissioner, Big Bass Byron.
I'd like to offer Mr. Farlow a ride home in the black base Chevy.
Could we have a motion, please, if there's no further meaningful discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to follow staff's recommendations. for
Motion's
approval.
been made. Please cast your votes. Cast your vote, or post it, please. There it is. It stuck that time.
This will go forward to City Council in ordinance form.
Okay, we now move to citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Anyone wish to take advantage of this opportunity? Please come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.